Welcome back, everyone, to DBDLeague. We are talking about the top 6 in All Hallows League. Yesterday, we said goodbye to Unoya and Infinity in the lower bracket, and now we are going a little bit higher. We are going to the ones that came very strong so far. The top 4 in the winner bracket. Eternal playing against Team Calamity, a good old matchup. We'll talk about the history of this in a second. And Elysium going against Oracle. So 2 absolute banger matchups, and don't be confused by the campfire chat. We had some last second readjustments on the schedule, so you're currently seeing Ethic and Brian as the caster pictures. They are casting later for you when we are talking about Elysium and Oracle. So let me introduce the one and only that's casting with me for the first one, and that's Rayoxium. Welcome in.
Hello. This is my debut. I am so excited to be able to cast for DBDLeague. Good morning, good afternoon, everybody. What's up? We have an exciting matchup today. I had no idea what the teams were going in, but I'm so excited I get to cast today. We have some really fun sets. We don't know the maps. I don't know the maps. I've been careful not to get spoiled because I want to learn alongside with you guys. But we do know the killers. Dyer, you want to get into it?
Absolutely. And when we're talking about these killers, Ray, you know it. I'm always making sure that you are casting the most fun games for yourself. So we will see a Spirit and a Huntress today. Both of these sets are also guaranteed, as in the best of 5. The teams just need 3 set points and then they could already take the win. But let's kick it off with set 1, picked by Calamity. Calamity was one of the top 3 teams in Season 9 and played the grand final back then in Winter Circuit at the beginning of the year against Eternal in the grand final. Lost it, unfortunately. So this might be the chance towards the end of the year to make up for that. Coming out strong with the Mastermind.
Yeah, I'm really excited. It's been a very long time since I have seen a Mastermind set in comp games. He was very popular for a really long time when he was released. People love to do some Wesker sets. He's got a really good chase power. It seems like the balancing for him is just so perfect because it could end in a 4K or it could end in just like outs, 6 stages. It's really interesting and really fun to see. He's had a nerf since the last time I've seen him in comp games because his infection resets all the way back to 1% if you put somebody up on a hook, as opposed to what it was when it was 50%. So that little change makes tunneling for the Mastermind a little bit harder. There hasn't been any other changes. The PTB hasn't released yet. So if you guys saw some changes on there, those are not out. We still have classic Mastermind. So it's going to be a little bit interesting. I don't think that infection rate change will change too much about the game because usually the Masterminds are so good that they catch the survivor before they get fully infected or right as they get fully infected. So that is definitely something to look forward to. Calamity did pick that. So classic Calamity going for more chase-oriented killers. I don't think Mastermind is too much of a fancy power-reliant killer unless you count hug techs, but I doubt we'll see any of those. But if we do, that is definitely going to be one for the montage. Do you have anything to say about a Wesker set, Dyer?
Wesker is pretty interesting for me when we are looking at the dynamic at the moment in the competitive scene, because he was for a long time this absolute player and fan favorite. And during All Hallows League, people went a little bit away from him. In Season 9, he was like the most popular killer, almost. Everyone loved him, everyone scrimmed him, everyone wanted to find out every single detail about counter strategy. And then in AHL, people were like, oh, other killers get the priority now. So it's very nice to see what they are bringing out here. A little bit of an information from the background is that Rocket and Hein are only having 108 or 109 hook stages on themselves in average so far. So basically they're being thrown on the hook one time and after that they cannot be caught anymore. Pretty interesting to hear about that. Big shout out to Toby, our tournament analyst. If you need anything about stats regarding DBDL, especially All Hallows League Season 9, all these big events that we are hosting, make sure to join the community. He got an own channel now, and you can also ping the role tournament analyst in general chat, and you're getting literally every single statistic, even what, I don't know, Zeno had yesterday morning in his breakfast before scrimming for the 7th time against an unknown team. And then, Ray, now your set coming, Spirit from Eternal coming out. Very standard set almost now for Eternal. They've picked it a couple of times. I see definitely the approach after seeing the Mastermind that Eternal was like, yo, let's put even more pressure up on the Survivor side.
Spirit is a high skill killer, and it is definitely a good pick. Especially against Team Calamity, because we never see Team Calamity pick up these killers that have just insane like M2 abilities. Like Spirit is all about just phasing. There's no way you're catching survivors, just mowing them down, holding W, just playing the regular M1 killer strat. So Eternal might have a hand in picking that a little bit in the meta game. We'll have to see. But we do know that Eternal's team, their Spirit player is always just insane. So it's definitely going to be a treat to witness that, especially because this is just normal balancing. This isn't the Halloween balancing, right? I think that Spirit is a part of the Halloween balancing.
But we're playing the normal Spirit.
Yeah, we're doing normal Spirit. That's going to be interesting.
Yeah. Normal Spirit going to be played. Yesterday we had the Halloween Spirit with this very special Haunted Ground challenge. Unfortunately, no one else is currently getting the hands on that, so we are more going to keep it classic, but it will be interesting what map Eternal has selected. And then we are going into the 2 Halloween sets. We have the Jump Scare Huntress picked by Calamity. Very interesting, because last week we saw how high the damage can be when the Jump Scare Huntress is striking. And usually I felt like this might be a killer to damage teams that are lacking in coordination and communication even more than usual. And Eternal for me is considered a team that has the absolute opposite, right? They have the communication on top, efficiency on top. So do you think this was picked by Calamity because they were like, if we can beat Eternal with something, we need to cook something special, then the Jump Scare Huntress has the biggest potential to bring a surprise?
It might be so. It could be that they practice this set really hard. But the thing is, we both know these teams for their excellent communication, right? Both Calamity and Eternal have shown us in previous seasons, and even just this season, how well that they can coordinate between each other. So I think it's definitely just a toss-up set. If I had to place my bets on either side, I'm not entirely sure who I would go for. I really don't, because we have seen equal like mess ups on each other's side. We've seen them like pull through. So that's going to be something that I am definitely looking forward to. And I actually am looking forward to the next set as well, which is the Tier 3 Myers. It's almost exactly the same as the Huntress jump scare set in that you need excellent team coordination, and you need to see some excellent plays by the killer in each set as well. It's going to be very interesting. I hope we make it to set 4 and it's not just a 3-point blowout. I really want to make it to the last set. I want to see Nemesis. That's going to be set 5.
Yeah, especially after Hens, I believe yesterday it was, hosting this very huge Nemesis versus Wesker showcase. And we are starting with Wesker now in set 1, having Nemesis as the final set. So we are basically hosting our private showcase with Eternal and Calamity right here. Ladies and gentlemen, stay tuned. We are going into the first set already. So we are going to enter the very important best of 5 here in the higher bracket of the playoffs. Let's see how it's going. Eternal, very known for their ability to strike. We have even seen them with a sub-roster so far in AHL, and that's a very interesting map from the beginning, if you're asking me. The Rotten Fields here for the Mastermind. That's definitely not the most usual that we see.
No, that is incredibly unusual. I wouldn't even think that Wesker would be great on this map. Wesker is he's not an entirely high mobility killer. He's got some dashes and that can allow for some sort of like map pressure for crossing, but it's going to be really interesting and really weird. And we can already see a build that would normally be banned. We have Blood Favor, already a pre-thrown pellet over here, so that if they get hit, it's already just on the ground. Wesker definitely still has to deal with all of these loops. Oh, right there, we already got an M1 out in the open. That's going to be really good for the killer. Already using the dashes to catch right back up. Did have overcome though, was able to create a huge amount of distance. Blood Favor not going to be able to block this pellet because it's already down. Dan doing some good job of just not getting instantly two-tapped, but Obi is right up on him. This is going to be the end right there. It's not an infection grab, however, so he's not infected. He's just going to go right up on the hook. A totem gets cleansed, and it was Undying. He has Blood Favor Undying. He really wanted to get use out of that perk. First instance of Pain Res used. His last perk won't be getting used until the very end. But I don't even know how the generator pressure is looking. Spitz has a little bit of progress right here, but we saw there was 2 survivors who were just kind of hovering around. So this is a really good start for Obi. Getting a person up on the hook, Pain Resing the gen with the most progress, and then we can see these 2 survivors aren't doing much of anything.
Yeah, whenever it's not going to be this 1-1 trade, first hook stage for the first generator, you're feeling pretty good on the killer side here, and especially when it's the first trial against a strong opponent like Eternal. We are having Spitz here, who recently made himself a name as the absolute Omega Juicer. We remember, for example, Season 9, the famous Z-Wall clip now, and he also carried last week when Eternal was playing with the sub roster, taking the responsibility, coordinating the entire team. So this might be a tough task, but we're switching over to Dan, who already has a hook stage here on himself to make sure that we're quick with the progression, because nothing is more luxury than having yourself a 3v1 scenario on the killer side. First generator being completed, 75% on a second gen, so as good as it looks on the killer side, on the paper that the first hook stage on Dan came in so quickly. Sometimes it's just the impression, and in reality the teams on the survivor side are a lot more efficient than you think. So we need the quick down here, hopefully onto Dan, but just getting behind the locker here, making sure that Wesker is not going to take the quick down. Difficult loop here on the TNL, but perfectly moving away, making it over towards this filler pallet, dropping it instantly. Obi in a difficult mind game here, knows exactly that he needs the down as quick as possible, but then so far on a pretty good run, finally going into the down here. But this might be a third generator coming out as we are working with 2 survivors close by. Seems like they realize that they don't get it done completely, but 2.5 are definitely out of the way here.
Still some progress happening over here. Dan onto his second stage. So the plan to tunnel out is still alive. The thing with tunneling out is that it's a huge time sink because you are putting all of your pressure onto one survivor. So it can backfire in the mid to late game when you just have all these other survivors who are just around the map and they have been pressuring the generators. Yep, you can see right here, this one is about to pop. And you also aren't even getting use out of your other perk, the Scourge Hook Pain Res, which gets the most value if you hook other survivors. So we'll have to see how this pans out. It really is just dependent if Obi can get Dan out before the last generator pops. And it does seem like there's not another generator that has too much progress, and there is kind of a slight 3-gen near where Wesker is. If he can get Dan out of the game really quick, that would be really huge. You can see there's 2 survivors here, and they know that too. This save right here is a huge priority for them. They're gonna take the hit. Kexo runs away, doesn't even get a hit onto Zaka here, who got away scot-free. What is Wesker planning on doing? Yep, he's decided not to go for the tunnel out. He says Kexo over here and is deciding just to go for him instead. This will reward a Pain Res hook if there is one nearby, but it seems that the tunnel out strat did not end up coming to fruition.
Tunnel strategy not happening. Kexo is going to take the place. Instead, as you mentioned, Eternal able to throw 4 survivors consistently onto the generators here, and we might see the penalty for Obi very soon, as certainly a few other objectives will be completed in just a moment here. Difficult also the shack here so far. Very well done by Eternal to use this resource. 4th generator coming out here. This should be a hit now, as we had a lot of dodging. But even this pallet is in reach. Very well done by Zaka, not taking the injury here, making sure that he's safe and protected. Nice attempt by Obi there, trying to go a little bit to the side so he can bump the survivor after grabbing them into the wall of this jungle gym, immediately causing the injury, but missed the target by a little distance.
Oh my
Very
God.
nice how Zaka is even using this very small wall now and turning it into one of the safest loops almost on the Rotten Fields, taking the injury now. Will get a little bit of distance here, but if Obi is not able to get this with this second dash, then the other survivors are 100% teaming up on generator number 5, and now we also have the survivor that has hope, so this might be very punishing if there would be a pallet here, but we have removed it earlier, and together with the know it, I do think Eternal realizes this is not the time to go back into the map and saving Zaka here, which would be still a 6-stage game. So I feel like they could be very happy taking all of these other stages out of the door here.
It is a 6-stage game, 3 fresh. That can be detrimental, however, because if the killer next game just gets 2 people, 2 freshes, and then it kills them both, that is not going to be enough, because Obi here did get 3 fresh. We'll have to see what the survivors do with their planning. It looks like they're hesitating a little bit, maybe kind of assessing the situation. No, they have discussed it, and they're saying, well, we're going to take all these stages out. Possibly our killer can do better than just 6. Now, this is I would say, a harder map for Wesker than like the standard, because normally it's like Coal Tower, right? It's a very small map. So it might be that the reason they chose this map is because they believe that they can juice the killer next game. You just you choose a map that's really bad for the killer, and then you're like, well, I'm gonna practice on it and I'm gonna get the best result. But we're really counting on our survivors to really just beat down the killer next game, and we will have to see what Eternal can cook up. They didn't know this map beforehand, so we'll have to see what their killer can do, and it will be really interesting to see what kind of build he brings as well.
Absolutely, yeah. The build is going to be a deciding factor. Keep in mind, everyone, they have to lock it in beforehand, but very often it's telling you kind of what the teams are thinking about each other. So, for example, here, Obi for Calamity bringing in the know it. Of course, that is showing us he was very much planning with a lot of generator efficiency, was expecting that they would get all the objectives done and bringing it into the end game kind of as a last resource to keep the stages together. And it's very important here that we got these 3 stages on Fresh Hook Zaka, so also very well played in the end game, because we have seen so far in AHL it is easier said than done when we are talking about, would be nice if the killer is getting a fresh hook for himself. Well, teams are playing around that as well. Someone is taking a hit who has been hooked before, someone who's already injured, someone who has an unbreakable then to put additional pressure up. So it's not that easy to secure 3 stages for yourself at the end. And in this case, overall 6 stages on 3 survivors is also still an okay result, I would say. We can definitely not say yet that Calamity's killer pick didn't really work out, or that Eternal was absolutely dominating the set. I think this would be a little bit too early for that, so there's definitely a chance, as you mentioned, Ray. When we are talking about the strategy now, maybe we have seen the tunnel attempt in the previous trial that clearly didn't work out. Do you think Calamity, when we are talking about 6 stages, should try to have the same
so?
survivor throw, when we are now talking about Calamity's survivor team, are they going to try focusing on one survivor, potentially even using him as a bait and being like, tunnel out this one survivor to kind of maybe force the chance that it's 6 stages on 2 survivors, so cutting down on that time? Or would you say Kexo won't care, he will go in aggressively collecting hook stages across the board from the beginning?
For me, okay, so I personally
For
feel
me?
like I'm not entirely sure. I can only speak from my experiences because this is so different. This is not something that I feel like I would be able to analyze like super quickly. Like Mastermind on Rotten Fields is already such a huge different game plan, right? It's not something that you can count on actually getting a tunnel out because tunneling out takes time. And if they run all the way across the map, that is like more time. Like I feel like people underestimate how long it takes for a killer to get from point A to point B. So using a tunnel out strat is such a huge time sink on such a huge map. So really, I feel like the more obvious play is to be aggressive and try to collect as many stages as possible because he also got 3 fresh. So what you could do, you could just get 4 fresh 6 stages. So if you just use maybe pain res to slow down the game a little bit, collecting those hooks on all the individual survivors, that could definitely add up. And I wouldn't be totally surprised to see the killer do that. But the tunnel out strategy is tried and true. If they are confident in their ability to get one person out of the game faster than what Obi did last game, then that can definitely be super rewarding. But also the downside to that is, what if their tunnel out is the decisive strike survivor, which is still also an incredibly huge time sink. It's basically if somebody has 4 stages, I would say, is that kind of time that you have to just invest into one person. It could have been that last game, the reason that the killer ditched the survivor was because they figured that they were the decisive strike person. And if that was a decisive strike person, he probably wouldn't have gotten that other stage on that other survivor. Could have just been that he was going to get about 4 stages instead of 6 with 3 fresh. So it's going to be kind of up to the killer what they decide. They might not even go in with the idea of what they're going to do. They might feel out the game, especially because if you get a survivor down and you don't think they are the DS survivor, then that's definitely a good way to get somebody out of the game. We'll definitely have to see what the killer does, but I'm kind of certain that they won't immediately try to go for a tunnel out strat. That's just me.
Yeah, as you mentioned, there's a lot of risk, right? And Rotten Fields turned out to be maybe not even the strongest map. I mean, Eternal is able to change any map, even the most unsafe ones, into a safe one. At least a lot of times in the past they were able to do that. But here with the size, as you mentioned, as soon as the tunnel out is running across the entire Rotten Fields, it doesn't really matter even if there's a filler pallet waiting or not. You're dragging the killer so far away from the active generators, you're wasting so much time. And when you're then having one additional resource, may it be an unbreakable, may it be decisive strike, then we are already talking about a very, very punishing time loss. So let's see how it's going to be played out. We are loading in with Rocket on the wonderful one and only Ace, Oscar, Hein, and Marco joining by his side. Rocket, a very known player as well. A lot of 1v1s on the leaderboard. Very successful in individual chases so far in AHL. So this might not be the best one. Champion of Light coming in with a little bit of hindering effect and the instant karma being delivered by Kexo here. First injury of the game. We see the same approach towards the end game. So Eternal definitely not, let's say, underestimating Calamity, and no one escapes death here was planned as well. Pain res, so we might see skipping the tunnel out and going for individual survivors hooked here. Marco doing a good job though. He's not on the safest tile on the map. We could say these recently introduced pallets are pretty difficult, but what a nice dash here by the Wesker into the down. That's a pretty early strike and very good for Team Eternal.
That pallet grab right there is definitely gonna be game changing. That could have been the make or break. Incredibly early down into a pain res But these survivors do seem to be a little bit more efficient than the ones last game because they have 2 generators that are close to being done, as opposed to the 1 generator that was close to being done last game. So even though Hein's chase was definitely quicker than last game, the survivors' efficiency is a little bit better. This seems to be a little bit more organized of a game. That would have been an insane hit, but instead is all the way over here. Remember, we were talking about how the strategy could be that they're just trying to get unique stages on survivors. It might seem that Kixo believes that as well. Going and chasing after a brand new fresh hook over here, trying to just get some downs, but they are running really, really efficiently, placing a lot of line of sight breakers. It's so funny that this is Rotten Fields, a map known for not having a lot of structures, and it just has so many of them. Very nice read by Kexo there. It does get a hit finally onto Oscar, who is just running away from that generator that he was so diligently working on. Blood Favor activating. Oh, just barely not enough. Activates their exhaustion perk, buying a little bit more time. Also, we see one of the new perks that is coming to effect, which is Hex Wretched Fate. I believe the name of it is. It's a Dracula perk where once the first gen is done, the Obsession has 20% repair progress penalty to generators. So Hein out there is being 20% less efficient. That'll be really good for the killer in just slowing down the gen progress. Passively does get another pain res hook onto Oscar. So we've got 2 fresh now. Definitely not seeing the immediate tunnel out strategy. We'll have to see how well it works out. We've got Rocket's generator about to be done. Hein is somewhere out there, I'm sure, working on gens as well. We have Marco over here, who is the fresh hook. No, it was the first hook, so he's not a fresh anymore. That might be actually an incredible strat. See, another generator gets done. Hein gets one. There's only 2 that is left. We have 2 hooks on 2 fresh survivors. No one close to being tunnel out. And we can already see, like, these survivors still have a lot of good perks to be used. We got Deliverance, which is still in effect. Oscar is just sitting right up on the hook. Is anybody gonna come to save him? I don't know. They might go for the last second save. 70 seconds is a long time. The survivors are spreading out, trying to get more generator progress. Poor Hein is 20% less efficient. Are we gonna see a last second save? It might be. They're just sitting on gens? Oh my god. Oh my god, they're just gonna let him go second. They are. Oh my god. He just goes to second. That is Oscar on the second stage. And, you know, the killer, it might be time to just go out there and maybe try to get another fresh hook. This could be really good for the killer. It's really hard to tell. We're in this really precarious situation where it could go either way.
Yeah, it is interesting that they are letting the team member go second there, because usually this needs to come for a very high price for the killer. So we should see some additional and extra progress on the generators here. Sprint burst going to be used, and making sure that we are not going to see the trade. Kexo with the swing a little bit early there, not getting the trade now. And what a beautiful dodge by Rocket. Here you can see what's happening when you're spending time and time on the 1v1 leaderboard and making sure that you are progressing more and more with experience and individual skills. Very interesting pathing here, going to the outside of this jungle gem, and Rocket striking again. What a beautiful chase individually here, signing up for the MVP medal, taking Kexo on a run around the rotten fields. The only difficult news is this is a fresh hook, so this would be 6 stages on 3 survivors if Rocket would be dying. So we see Marco now coming in. This is exactly what Ray and me talked about in the campfire chat between the 2 trials. Teams are playing around it. They 100% prefer having Marco on the hook, as this would be less stages. And there's the end game. Now Kexo under a lot of pressure. Eternal is close to potentially losing the set here. If Hein is going down on the floor, that's a new fresh hook. It would be 6 stages as well, but then we would actually see a tie here. He needs more stages.
Yeah, that's definitely the plan that they were going for. Was that Noed cleansed, or was that another Hex Totem? Because there was 2 of them. Right there. Okay, that was Noed cleansed. Noed is gone, meaning that they can save this if they want to turn this into a win. Right there, we all saw the perfect planning of the survivors. Rocket, if you were to die on hook, would have been a win. So what they need to do right now is that they need to save Hein, and if they do, then they win. Hein needs to not die, and they did open the door. They have 3 survivors out there who are getting healed up. They're getting their infection gone. We'll have to see what happens. I would definitely say that they are probably going to try to come in and save this, especially because Noed was gone. That's such a sad thing that Blood Favor was never cleansed, and instead it was the Noed. That was like a 50% chance, and it went in the favor of the survivors. You could definitely see that they want to take this set point. If they do save this, they will take it. And that is something that you would definitely want to happen. Going in, they're hovering a little bit. You can see just Oscar in the background coming in. Stealthy in there. Try to go for a blind here. It's not gonna be
Champion of Light.
it's not gonna be it. But even then, even if Oscar dies, it's still not a win. Like, the killer needs to get somebody else. Are you gonna be able to get past him? Look at these body blocking. Oh my god. Oh, if he throws someone in as well. Oh no! Uh-oh, team. Uh-oh, problems. Oh no! Uh-oh. That's not good. So if Marco was placed on the hook and then also Oscar dies,
Then Calamity lost.
then Calamity will lose the set, and it definitely seems like that is the plan of Kexo, getting this person up on the hook. Okay, but if Marco dies as well, like, that's still a loss as well. They need to come up with a plan. And the endgame collapse timer is halfway gone. Wesker has 2 options here. Will he be able to get both of them? Oh, it seems that, like, Wesker, he couldn't decide. He still needs to get another person. Are you gonna be able to throw this person back into the map? We'll have to see. Oh, and he goes for the other person.
No way.
This is a tie. Is that a tie?
No,
that's a loss.
This is the win for Calamity now. This is it's the loss for Kexo, as Calamity is now walking out with only 5 stages here. So what an insane turnaround. We were going into this end game with the pretty clear tie condition that was set, basically, and I was worried when Calamity came back, because I was like, we have seen it yesterday in trial number 10 between Infinity and Severance. We had trial 10, it was the guaranteed tie. The killer got a little bit greedy, so one team was greeding and then they lost and said goodbye to the tournament. And I was like, okay, Calamity has the tie. Isn't that an achievement against Team Eternal? Isn't that something you can be proud of? You can kick off this best of 5, making sure that Eternal is getting the signal. You are not going to play this very great here. You are not going to be dominant today. We are having you under control. And then we had this fumble, we could say, on the individual hook stages. Too many survivors were going to be hooked, so it looked like a loss for Calamity. And then somehow, with all these stages, all this chaos around the hook, they managed to take 5 stages only on the killer of Eternal. So Calamity actually taking the win here in this very first set. Huge performance by Calamity. I feel like Kexo was a little bit overwhelmed there in the end game, which is totally understandable. So many survivors swarming around the hook, so much pressure. What I don't understand, this was for me the key moment, was when we had the final hook. Why on the killer side now he didn't want to accept that a tie is better and that the win for Eternal with 7 stages is very unlikely. So I feel like there Kexo got a little bit greedy and tried to get stage number 7 so hard that Calamity had the chance to unhook, and then they all walked out of the door. So it was a photo finish, and we see that Zaka is now taking responsibility on the Spirit. Zaka better, showing us a strong killer performance to bring the confidence back into Eternal here.
That was so very close. It felt like Kexo was just hovering between 2 different options. He could have gone for the survivor who was right in front of him and injured, or he could have stayed near the hook. It seems like he couldn't decide which one to either go for. And because he could not decide in that end the game there, it definitely cost him the game. So nice, well played to Calamity for taking the very first set. But now we are going into Eternal territory with their Spirit set. I don't know what kind of map they chose, but it's gonna be interesting nonetheless. I would not be surprised if we just saw like the standard map, like Wrecker's Yard. We have seen a couple teams just pick that. They can take advantage of the fact that they can choose out of a pool of maps to go to, but sometimes they end up just picking the comp standard because they're so confident that they would win in just a normal sort of map with some interesting rules. I would say that Spirit does suffer a little bit with these less restrictions on the rules. We might see some audio dampening perks. I believe, is Iron Will allowed? I don't know if there's like special balancing for just each killer or if it's just like standard across the board for literally everybody. I don't believe Spirit has like any special balancing. So we might see stuff like Iron Will and Urban Evasion, which is like something you wouldn't think would be good in a Spirit set, but crouching does reduce your sound a little bit. So that'll be really fun to see if the survivors do bring that out. But I'm not even sure if they'll do too much difference builds because like the perks you can bring are just really strong regardless. So we're going to see, of course, like 4 exhaustions on each of the survivors, but we're probably going to see maybe some Iron Will and some crazy pathing from the survivors to try to lose the killer while they are phasing. There is a little bit of an audio bug right now with Spirit in that her husk is making really loud passive noises. You guys will hear it if the camera is on. The killer POV, we know about it. So you might be hearing a little bit of that. We're sorry, there's nothing we can do, but I'm looking forward to this set. Dyer, do you have anything to add?
I 100% agree with you about the restrictions hurting the Spirit. The survivors only have 4 individual perk bands: Bite the Bullet, Light Footed, Lucky Break, and Iron Will. So we're not going to see that one. So a little bit she got it again in the first concept. There were no perk bands at all. Then the rule committee came in and said like, okay, these 4 at least. But besides the Iron Will point, I 100% agree with you. We have something like a Deliverance. We have full access to Unbreakable, Decisive Strike, everything. So, and ever since the Spirit came back into the game with this very directional audio and making it super accurate now how to track the Spirit, of course comp teams picked up on that super well, and she has a much harder time. Will be interesting what Zaka picked here. I should know the map, but luckily the teams were doing the picks and bans on Monday already, so I kind of forgot what Zaka picked, so I can just live with the same surprise and the same excitement as everyone here. We are already going into trial number 3, ladies and gentlemen. Huge shout out here to Eternal and Calamity for being so quick. We are very much aware that you do not like the downtime between the games, and as you see today, if the servers and the lobbies are not standing in our way from the developer side, we are usually doing pretty good, because so far no one has to restart the game 428 times to finally make it into the lobby. And here we are, ladies and gentlemen. This is Spirit Town. We all know it too well. Zaka not going with something too crazy, Wrecker's Yard and an agitation to potentially carry a survivor into the basement of Shack. So he definitely has a plan here.
And remember what I was talking about, how the killer will just sort of pick up on a good map if they can. Yep, it does seem like they went with the standard. Just some Wrecker's Yard. This could be a classic Spirit game, except the downside for the Spirit is that there is more lax balancing for the survivors. So we can expect the survivors to get a better than these standard result, I would say for sure. Oh my god, his phasing is definitely God, it's really on point. Just listening for its footsteps. This is the classically very quiet Ada. So Zaka just using his brain and all of his senses available to him to just sniff out exactly where the survivor is. You can definitely see the experience from Zaka's side, trying to get the survivor in a timely manner. This will be Marco going down. That's actually very early for, I would say, a Spirit set on these high level teams. Corrupt Intervention is now gone, and it's so funny, we can actually see this is an incredibly standard build. This build would be allowed in just regular DBDLeague balancing. Oh wait, no, Pain Res isn't. But you know what? It should be. Spirit's not that good anymore. She should definitely be given a little bit. My personal opinion. I know a lot of people don't like Spirit, but the first pain res does activate, and because Zaka does have agitation, it means that he can put his hook anywhere that he wants. And even right now, Hein is in the danger zone. Giving out free tags against an S tier is actually a really big make or break scenario. So if you were to just give out hits like this, that could be really bad for the survivors. And even then, like, Marco does get pulled, yeah. Hein is injured. Ooh, that reset was incredibly quick. Could have been Resurgence, will make it. Some of those reset perks make it so if you stray even a tiny bit away from the hook, it's really hard for the killer to tunnel.
And so far, Calamity is trying to abuse exactly that, making it hard to tunnel here, putting pressure onto Zaka. One generator is already completed. Rocket going all the way into the corner of the Wrecker's Yard here. We can see for a second how far away this actually is from all the active generators there. So a lot of time being lost here, not only the time in the chase. It takes 10 seconds to carry towards the hook, and it takes another 10 seconds to phase back. So this equals almost a quarter of a generator for an individual survivor. We see it right here as Oscar just jumped onto the generator again when the chase with Rocket was basically starting here. So very well done from Calamity so far. Zaka, however, still able to get some good hook stages in for himself, making sure that Eternal is not going to save a difficult position here, trying to scout for the next survivor. We have a few scratch mark here around in the area, but no one to be found just yet. Calamity playing this extremely careful also, something that is very often punishing for these very strong killers, as they are expected to constantly be in the chases. And over here we can tell Zaka has no chance guarding these generators really, because they are so far away and would feature an incredible time loss. Oscar coming in, our Deliverance survivor going for Rocket, and I do feel like, no, actually no slug. Zaka just wants to get rid of the Delhi survivor.
A Delhi survivor and possibly a pain res as well. That is definitely one of the benefits. Yeah, okay, that was a pain resonance hook. That is one of the reasons why they ban pain res on S tier killers, because they can just take that trade, place somebody up on the hook, and then be on the trail of the survivor who was just unhooked. So that's a huge benefit for them, getting that generator regression. However, it seems like Zaka is actually just going immediately back to hook and going after Oscar, who was the Delhi survivor. That's actually a huge problem, because normally you don't throw decisive strike on the delivered survivor. So it's very interesting that Zaka is just coming right back. This definitely could be an easy tunnel out. However, you are chasing a survivor who can be known for being very quiet. It really seems that Zaka did a really good job of tracking. I was about to say. And then this will be the hook onto Oscar here, who can be the tunnel out now. This is actually really good. And then another generator gets done, so there's 2 left. But that is a survivor who is 70 seconds away from being out of the game, with 2 hooks onto other survivors. So we've got 3 fresh hooks. This actually is looking like a really good game for Zaka, especially because with these perks, you can't expect a whole lot of high stages. And even right here, the map seems to have a bunch of generators that are not too far away from each other. Even if they were to get that mid-gen complete, the map isn't well, it is a little bit split. Did they just get, which one did they get done? Oh, that's the far one though. This is kind of a 3-gen. I think this result, I'm feeling good about this result. If Zaka can capitalize, this will be really good for Team Eternal.
Now trying to get the quick injury onto Hein, successful with that. Life is going to secure some distance though, so it shouldn't be the immediate 2-tap coming out here. Something that would be great for Zaka now as 4 generators have already been completed. You would either really like to have some pressure with the slugging, some snowball attempt, or at least having a survivor out of the game by now. It's difficult now to go for the elimination. One survivor, you would really go into focusing this individual person. Meanwhile, there's only 1 generator for the remaining survivor team. Marco is going to be in the next chase, and we see the strategy very clear once again, dragging the killer as far away as possible, away from the active generators, making sure that Zaka cannot really defend them. But after making a quick look back towards the shack and ensuring that the generator cannot be done too quickly, Zaka feels confident in getting Marco down onto the floor. In the distance, we see Calamity medical assistance party. So they are making sure that all the injuries that were spreading across the entire team are going to find the reset. And I think this is worth the trade-off here, having a hook stage onto Marco, and in exchange to that, 3 survivors back into fully healthy is absolutely something that you would take any day of the week here. So now you have 3 survivors that can work safely on the generators. After taking a hit, they can run to the other side of the map away from the active gens. Especially with this somewhat 3-gen setup, it is also important to go for this strategy, and you can make sure that you can at least ensure the trade when you are talking about unhooking Marco. So there's no chance that the Spirit is somehow finding the rotating rescuer off guard and then quickly putting them onto the floor here. Zaka wants to ensure the kill onto Marco. Perfect timing, if you are asking me. He knows from the resets that there's no survivor working, at least not for a significant amount of time, on the gens, so he's not in danger of going into endgame soon. Yet Oscar is going to play a little bit of hero here. Marco is staying in the trial, and we have the trade of the hook stage here. Oscar is going to be eliminated whatsoever, so we're going to play the 3v1 scenario on a somewhat okay 3-gen, but Calamity quicker than Eternal.
And I actually can't even believe they got that generator done. We didn't see any progress whatsoever. That's so interesting that they were able to get that done. But even now, right here, definitely onto the chase of another survivor. I think Rocket is the one who hasn't been hooked, so he would be a prime target. But oh my, what? The survivors know that. And so they are trying to just get them all out. Doesn't matter who you chase, because, oh my God. Wait. Did they actually, you got high down. Oh, got high down. But they used for the people to try to buy a little bit more time. Oh my God, Zaka, just pick them, Zaka. What the heck? They just get out. What are you even doing? What even happened? Why didn't he just pick? That was so weird. What even happened?
I don't know. Was he expecting that Calamity was... Maybe his idea was that, or like his expectation was that Calamity will perfectly enforce the healing tech. And in case they are doing very perfect on the healing tech, then it's his only chance to get the injuries into these survivors as quick as possible, so they are all on the floor, and then he can pick up. And not realizing that there was this short... There was a short moment where he could pick up, right?
Yeah.
Maybe he was just not expecting that he would get this moment. And if you are expecting that Calamity would have perfect heal tag, then I understand his calculation that you would say, I need to get the hits, the M1s in as quick as possible. But then he also missed one. I'm not sure, Ray. It looked just as chaotic as the previous trial. The problem is that when we are talking about trial 2 that we just witnessed with the Mastermind and a lot of chaos, and this one here with the heal tech that was a lot of chaos, this is the second time that chaos is going to the disadvantage of Team Eternal. So this might turn out very punishing.
Yeah, I wasn't even paying attention to how many stages that was, because I was so flabbergasted by the ending there. That was such a fumble. I don't understand. There must have been some kind of, I don't know what was happening. I really don't. That was really weird. I'm not entirely sure what the stages was. I know somebody died, and I know there was 3 fresh. That's all I know. I wasn't completely paying attention. Do you remember?
We have yeah, this is the big question now. We are relying on our match officials here in the background. We have six stages on
Six
three
stages,
individual
fresh.
survivors.
Dude, it could have been like
Yeah.
7 or 8. Dang, that was like a, I don't know what that was. That was crazy. But we'll have to see if the killer from the other side can meet or beat the result. I mean, 6 stages, 3 fresh is still, I would say, a good result, especially for this rule in this balancing. So I still think the survivors can beat the result. We've seen Eternal play against spirits before, and they do such a good job. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if the reason they pick spirit sets is because their survivors are so confident. Not saying that Zaka isn't a good spirit, because he is a very good spirit, but that could be a part of the reason that they do that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, the confidence is 100% justified, and Zaka had very strong spirit performances in the past, even here during the mid game. I mean, we were talking about how Calamity traded a hook stage for 3 resets, how they were constantly running to the other side of the map. So if the survivor team is playing perfectly as Calamity did for very long parts of the previous trial, there's only so much you can do on the killer side, right? As a killer, you rely a little bit on the mistakes on the survivor side. It just very unfortunately, as you mentioned, it could have been easily 2 additional stages. And then we are talking about 8 stages, which would bring the win condition 9 stages. And then you're telling Calamity's killer you need 3 full kills, basically. And 3 full kills sounds a lot different than telling Calamity's killer 6 stages on 4 survivors is enough. So this is also for the mindset now. Obi definitely, I feel like, not too worried for the upcoming Spirit trial. It's definitely not going to be this effect where he's loading in and thinking, oh my god, how am I supposed to ever reach this win condition that we are having against ourselves? So Eternal survivor team needs to shine. They were shining during the Wesker already. Then they were unlucky on their killer game in the end game. Now we had an unlucky killer endgame again, so it's time to shine on the survivor side, basically. As in set number 1, the win condition, though, would be only 2 kills on 2 survivors or 5 stages on 3 survivors for Eternal. So they have to play a really on-point Spirit survivor game. We are already loading in, ladies and gentlemen. Wrecker's Yard was the map that Zaka picked for Team Eternal, so Team Calamity also has to play on the Wrecker's Yard. If you're new to DBDLeague and especially to the All Hallows League, we have untied the killers from their designated maps, meaning that whoever selects the killer for a set is also responsible for picking the map. So Calamity chose the Mastermind and sent us to Rotten Fields, and Eternal selected the Spirit and is sending us to Wrecker's Yard. By the way, for all the history and archive enjoyers, Wrecker's Yard was the designated map in Season 9 for the Spirit, so we are playing basically some gold standard balance, at least when we are talking about the map here. Keep in mind, compared to Season 9, these survivors have a lot more resources in the AHL. And here we are, Obi responsible. He has also played the Mastermind for Team Calamity, so he's warmed up against these survivors. We are witnessing Dan, Zaka, Spitz, and Kexo on the survivor side. My big question of the day is, where's Nightlight?
Yeah, doesn't he normally play all these killers for Eternal?
Yeah.
He must have been just, I don't know, predisposed. He's got something to do this weekend. But yeah, we've already loaded in an Obi. Oh, that's an incredibly early hit. Oh, no. That could be really bad. If you kickstart all of these like games with just an early hook, that is such a detrimental thing for the survivors. It just makes it so getting that tunnel out or even just getting those fresh hooks are speedy quick. We see Zaka here trying to outplay the Spirit, but she is a famously S-tier killer. Ooh, going down underneath the pallet. Is somebody here? We do know. But is it a fake? Is the survivor just doing that? Obi is taking the gamble, and guess what? Is it gonna pay off? Oh, man is right there. Ready to be able to take that hit. Is Zaka going to be making it all the way to Shack? It does seem so. That is the Shack pallet gone, the safest pallet in the game. The Spirit has to kick that one, and now she is hot on the trail of Zaka still. Zaka wanting to be able to buy a little bit more time, but that will be him down once again. Is somebody here again? Nope, and that will be the first hook onto Zaka, a Scourge Hook Pain Resonance, making the next generator regress, and we can already see the difference in builds. Obi here didn't bring Corrupt Intervention. That's actually huge. That means that now he has just all these other multiple perks, except what, bruh. His other 2 totems got cleansed, and I didn't even hear it. Just a reminder, guys, we know Spirit's loud. It is a spectator bug. She normally makes these sounds in game, the survivors here, but we get to hear it, lucky us. So that is the reason why she's making all of these incredibly loud noises. It's not supposed to be like that. But her hex perks are gone. So now she's just in the same boat as Zaka was last game, except Zaka had agitation. So the Spirit is going to be less lucky, less able to put that survivor on a hook in any position that she wants, but she does still have Eruption and Scourge Hook in Resonance. First generator gets done. The Spirit is opting just to really hard camp this, possibly trying to go for some trades, trying to go for a tunnel out strategy. Will we be seeing it happen to Kexo? Yes, we will. And look at that. Here comes the hook trade with the Scourge Hook Pain Resonance. Gonna make the generator with the most progression regress. And we'll have to see if the Spirit decides to go after the tunnel out. This is the direction Zaka went. Oh my gosh, she sniffs out a little bit of a Dan over here by the shack. Oh, a fantastic read will get a hit onto Dan. That is 2 survivors out there who are injured, and Dan is in the danger zone, about to be downed. Will we be seeing it? Yes, we will. This is very good for Obi. Having so many survivors injured at this point is really dangerous against an S tier, and we are probably going to see another Scourge Hook Pain Resonance come through. That's why this perk is so good for S tiers and why it's normally banned in normal balancing. You're able just to spread out all of this regression and punish the survivors so hard, it makes it very difficult for them to recover.
Yeah, the recovery that you mentioned would be needed though on the survivor side, because we are basically halfway through the win condition. We have 3 stages so far, and we have the 3 stages on 3 individual survivors. 6 on 3 would be a tie, so in case we are getting spits and camping spits all the way into the death, that would be enough for Team Calamity, as we are then talking about 6 stages but on 4 individual survivors. Important therefore that Kexo is not taking the injury here on the fun bus, and that he's hopefully having a little bit of a long and strong chase. The grass unfortunately is going to give away the position, but overcome, coming in clutch, more distance, and therefore more time lost for the killer in case he's deciding to follow up. And Kexo just showing us how to play against this Spirit here. Confident pallet drop into the second completed generator. Eternal picking up the momentum. Kexo going down here in the pallet. Are they able to set something up? This would be very punishing now if any of these survivor is being found. Dan lurking in the shadows for the pallet save, had a sprint burst ready, so he's not taking an unnecessary injury, but that's not going to be enough. 1 survivor is expected, 2 are very unusual, yet Calamity's killer Obi is making extra sure that nothing can happen here. Zaka with the life, just about to reach the pallet, but unfortunately not coming through. That's going to be the pickup here. We are getting Kexo off the ground, but Zaka 70 seconds away from the elimination here.
70 seconds away. That is gonna be really bad for the survivors. It doesn't seem to be too much generator progress, and even the progress that they do have, the gen's getting kicked, it's getting eruption placed on it. If a down happens in that time, that means that is going to be regressed even just a little bit more. The Spirit is sitting in a really good position, but she needs to capitalize. This isn't something that is going to be just completely cut and dry, right? It's still up. The survivors can pull something off, but it's not looking that likely, especially if Obi continues to put the pressure on and faces right on top of Zaka. That is going to be the elimination happening onto him. No anti-tunnel perks allowed. You're going to be out of the game, and that means that Obi is now in a 3v1 with 3 generators left. There is a little bit of progress on those generators, but it's not going to be enough. We might see a 4K 4K with multiple generators remaining. That'll be huge. This was Eternal's pick, mind you. This was their pick for their killer. So the fact that Obi is able to just get all of this pressure onto the survivors is just, it's great. It's insane that it seems like the plan is crumbling just a little bit. Generator does get done, and Dan is cooking up a chase good right here. I mean, if nobody dies or goes down, then that is still the win for Eternal. And you know what? We have seen stranger things happen, so it's not out of the game just yet, but the survivors are going to just have to loop out of their minds. Oh, Dan with the sneaky little sprint burst there. Does not get tagged just yet. Throws this pallet. Obi trying to phase around it. Dan walking away. Oh, being a little sneaky. He's not giving out a tag just for free, and it seems that Obi is not able to phase on them while they are healthy, which is not super surprising. All of these survivors are just very, very quiet. We know that Kexo, who's playing Renato has incredibly quiet footsteps. Ace is quiet. Ada is quiet. Going to be a little bit more difficult, but Obi does phase right on top of Kexo, getting that tag, that much needed injury, so making it a lot easier to phase right on top. Oh, there we go! And that will be the down onto Kexo, activating Eruption. The survivors are desperately trying to hammer out these generators. They're splitting to be the most efficient they possibly can be. They're very close! But that is Kexo on stage 2. It's getting very, very scary. That is actually 6 stages too fresh right there.
Now Dan, the man in the next chase here, needs to make sure that he's somehow running until all the generators are completed, and then all the stages are being taken out of the door here. Then we are talking about the 6 stages on 3 survivors. So the chances are shrinking, yet they are still around. Eternal has done very crazy things in the past here. Then with a very great showing, and that's exactly what we were talking about. End game coming out, we don't have a no one escapes death, so if we get Kexo from this hook and then all of these survivors out of the door, yeah, ladies and gentlemen, it is a hard challenge, and yeah, it's maybe unlikely, but Eternal has done such miracles in the past. This is perfectly how you do it. One survivor taking the injury, the other one is making sure that it's not ending in a trade. Spitz staying here on the pallet. Pallet save will be possible now for the Spirit. The difficult question, is she able to find all these survivors? Dan teabagging a little bit, I think, wants to work as a bait there. Does he make it back to the pallet? The answer is no! And there goes the chance for Team Eternal. This was a very nice plan. It was a very, very nice idea. And ultimately, though, it was so close once again, but now we are having it. The 7 stages on the side of Calamity's killer. Obi did it once more. Second set point also going to Team Calamity, meaning that Team Eternal now needs 3 set wins back to back in order to win this best of 5 and making sure that they are not going to drop here. Kexo is leaving very nicely the flashlight in the trial so the killer can sell it on eBay, I guess, later on. Good that Eternal is taking an out here. Feels like that's very well deserved. But
I mean, they could have had a better result if they just let that survivor stay. But very well played. They almost pulled that off. That would have been so insane to see. But Obi was hot on their trail, knew their plan, and figured it out. Was able to get it. That pallet save right there would have been just so good. It was just like 1 second away from happening. Obi able to get that survivor up on the hook. Will be taking this set from Eternal. That is two sets going to Calamity. We know that this is like the first losses that Eternal's been having in AHL, right?
Absolutely, and 2 back-to-back. Calamity is not joking. 1 more and Eternal is dropping into the lower bracket. Definitely not something that we would have expected. I would like to circle to the previous trial real quick, because as we are living 10 minutes in the future, a few messages have been noticed by now. Ray, in this very chaotic exit gate, there was a flashlight still available, and this might have also been a reason why Zaka didn't want to pick up. I personally didn't notice the flashlight. Some people seemed upset that we missed this flashlight. So, ladies and gentlemen, from the bottom of our hearts, from Ray and me, with the deepest regrets, with the highest apology, and you can be very sure that Ray and me exchanged a lot of messages of condolences in the background before coming on the stage and taking responsibility. We did not notice the flashlight. It was too chaotic. I still think, I hope I don't make the people more angry now. I still think that when you have the choice between risking a flashlight save and letting the survivor crawl, you should still try to pick, because maybe somehow the flashlight carrier is going to mess up the flashlight save. So there's at least a possibility. Yet, of course, it makes a lot more sense what Zaka did now in the exit gate. So Ray and me didn't notice it. We need new glasses, maybe. Or
Yeah,
it was just too
you
chaotic.
might be sorry, but I'm not sorry.
We're also getting old. But yeah, this just as an addressing, in case you wondered why were we not mentioning the flashlight, we didn't notice it, honestly, in this chaotic situation.
I don't know if you would have even gone for it. Like, if we go back and we look at it, I don't know. It seemed like Ace was just pretty content to stand there. But of course, that definitely is something that comp players tend to keep in mind. They think of everything. Little smarties. So yeah, I guess that might have been a flashlight save right there. I don't know. Even as the killer, I feel like probably still should have even at least tried to go for it. I mean, if you pick up and look away, it might be that they need to be frame perfect with the flashlight to be able to get the save. I mean, it's either you pick and you risk the flashlight, or you don't pick and they just crawl out. Because like, you're just kind of accepting a loss right there. I don't know. I don't know if they should have. I still think it was worth the try to pick, but you know.
I just wanted to lift the heat from our shoulders.
And you know what? It'd be like that. I don't know. But we're loading into an incredibly interesting set now. We're actually going into a Halloween set. Dyer, you want to tell us a little bit about it?
Absolutely. And first thing we have to notice is in this Halloween set is a flashlight allowed. So we need to look out for the usage of the item there. Be aware. But yeah, we are going to load into the one and only jump scare Huntress picked by Calamity. We are going to play her on the game. The game is a map that is super interesting. We have a lot of lockers for the Huntress. We have these 2 floors up and down. A lot of coordination is needed on both sides, because you not only need to keep track where on the map is the Huntress at the moment, you also have to keep track, did she drop, is she back up? And while all of this is already a challenge, we are playing the jump scare Huntress with the Fox add-on. So whenever she's reloading, she is going completely undetectable and having the one shot as well. And we see how surprising the Huntress can be right here in the first chase. That's why Obi threw away the hatchet. He's not overly aggressive. He doesn't have issues and wanted to damage the wall in the bathroom. He threw it away so he can immediately go for the reload and having that undetectable status effect. And that was the dream start. It cannot go better in this set.
For sure. But we have seen games start out like this, so I'm not incredibly surprised. This is something that is a little bit harder for the survivors to play against, right? So we have seen some interesting starts happening. Obi throwing away his hatchet because you have to have that reload animation. You can't just open a locker for Wooden Fox to activate. So throws away the hatchet, pulls out another one, just looking for another survivor there. Also, an incredibly hard spot to be in, because if you are out of position even by a tiny little bit, you are going to be insta-downed. That's why this set is just such a hard one to play and to play against. Ooh, sneaks on in there for a little bit of a save. Zaka and Kexo in there. We saw Kexo was the one with deliverance, so if he goes up on hook, it is not a huge deal. Goes for a hatchet throw, and yes, it will be connecting. That will be Kexo placed up on the hook. He does have deliverance, so if the Huntress decides to camp this, it'll be just time wasted. But we do know that the killer knows that. A little bit of metagaming, they would probably figure out that if a survivor suicides for the hook like that, then it's just them also having deliverance. So Obi might decide to just leave hook here. He can hover for a little bit. We'll have to see what the plan is. It does seem that Obi is straying a little bit further from hook than if Zaka was just sitting up on there. Oh, and he just finds Zaka as well. The classic tunnel out strategy. It's always good to turn games into a 3v1, trying to get that pressure that the survivors can split reduced. Throws that right there. Oh my god. Oh my god! Dan with the immaculate pathing we saw. I feel like this is retrospectively, Dan was cooking last game. His pathing was insane. He didn't even take hits from that spirit. Dan absolutely in his element today. Dodges that iridescent head hatchet and makes it all the way to safety. A generator gets done. Obi decides to just leave that chase. Dan was too strong. Now is a little bit undetectable and is scouring the map looking for any survivor that he could throw his hatchet into. Dan finds one of the hex totems that it will be cleansed. Obi has brought in Thrill the Hunt, so it takes a little bit longer. A little bit of a mind game right here, except Huntress is 110, and that 5% speed difference will be making it so that Kexo makes it to the pallet, throws it in her face. One of the totems gets cleansed, but guess what? There are more. So Kexo just needs to last in chase to buy his team a little bit more time on the generators. I think Ruin is still up, meaning that the regression that can be happening will be happening, and the survivors are just struggling to get more generator progress. Kexo doing a good job of lasting in chase at this LT wall nonetheless. Goes for the vault, just takes the vault, blocks the L and the T, and then there is another totem that just got cleansed. We can still see on the side though that it is still cursed. And you actually got so much value out of just this one structure. Very well played by Kexo. The pathing was immaculate, but that will be him onto his second stage. And very close to being a tunnel out. They're just playing it so precarious. Oh my god. Scooby doing him a little bit, hiding behind that little bit of structure. Will Obi be able to see and sniff him out? That would be so incredibly bad. Oh, if he didn't just throw that hatchet, that would be Dan right here dead, and that would be almost a GG's right there.
Yeah, very well played by Kexo, and this chase hopefully carries the hope now for a comeback, not only in this trial but for this entire best of 5. 3 set wins back to back would be needed. We have the second generator being completed now. A lot more of them are needed, and Eternal delivers these generators that we require. Dan once again with the sprint burst here. We have seen it in the Spirit set, how well he was getting that done. Let's see now, Kexo trying to move in around 2 survivors here, and that's going to be the miss with the hatchet. So we are talking no longer about a trade here with the survivor. Instead, we are moving entirely away from the hook here. A lot of chaos is going on again, but I think Eternal has a very clear plan. Dan wants to take the down. Very understandable, because he has 2 hook stages and 2 minutes and 20 seconds here. So that was the perfect trade. 4 survivors are staying in the trial, and that was perfectly and very well done by Team Eternal here. Also immediately on the rescue there before Obi can return with a hatchet that he just picked up. So very well done. Is Spitz able to make sure that it's not going to be the down? Unfortunately not. Would have been absolute masterclass if Eternal gets that as well. But with 3 completed survivors, the tunnel out basically prevent it from happening, maybe they can go and strike on the generators now.
That was the worst possible case for the killer right there. Like, Huntress raising an iridescent head hatchet at the hook is literally like you can't save at all. They sent in 2 people, so that way like the hook save could happen because you can only throw 1 hatchet at a time. But instead of hitting anything, it just throws it on the ground. That is so sad. The worst possible scenario for Obi. And now all these survivors who could have been out of the game, that could have been such a good spot for him to be in. I mean, right here, it still is Kexo dead. Kexo is the tunnel out and will be out of the game if there's no pallet save. Yep, no pallet save. And that is still a good scenario for the killer to be in, but man, that is just so sad. All right, tunnel out. 2 generators left. I don't know if that's even like a good result to say, or I meant like it is a good result for the killer, but like, as opposed to what it could have been. I mean, this is just 1 generator left. I would say that's pretty good for survivors on this rule set. The iridescent head Huntress is with the wooden fox, mind you, the jump scare iridescent head Huntress is really, really hard to play against, especially on the map where it's just her lullaby is ever present, so you're always aware that she is at least very, very close to you, and you wouldn't think it would be easy to jump scare people, but because her lullaby is so big that you do count on her terror radius to sort of give you an idea of where she is. So when it's gone, it's just so difficult. And that patience from Obi waiting out the dead hard onto Spitz, very, very confident. We'll have to see if Obi decides. Oh yeah, he's slugging just a little bit, trying to get Zaka as well. We know that Kexo was the no mither survivor, so that was the unlimited unbreakables out of the game, and now it is just an absolute free slugfest. Even more patience from Obi right there. Will be picking up Zaka, who has been hooked 1 time. Everybody's been hooked 1 time. So now it's just a battle of trying to get the rest of these stages gone while managing the generators and making sure that last one does not get done. Best case scenario, all the survivors are gone for the killer. Worst case scenario, they get another generator done, and that could be out. It's still incredibly possible to see some survivors walk out the exit gate, but Obi is definitely on the patrol. The save happens incredibly fast. He's nowhere near hooked to punish it that hard, but he has to be careful and keep his eye on that generator because it does have a lot of progress. This one has a lot of progress too, so it's not incredibly free. Oh, very well played. Incredible patience. Doing such a good job. Throwing it between those 2 things is not an easy feat. They have a little bit bigger hitbox than you would assume. So that was incredibly well played. Dan also now on death hook. That's 2 survivors. If one of them is out of the game, then it'll be a 2v1. And you know what? That is a lot harder for the survivors to get another generator done.
It looks unfortunately more difficult now for Eternal. Spitz is going to move into the Huntress here. I was worried there for a second, but all good. Part of the plan is taking the injury here, and then with that little bit of a speed boost going into the ice room. Unfortunately, Dan is not able to take the base kit borrow time hit here, so the endurance status effect not going to help out. Moving back into the ice room, trying to get Spitz up as quick as possible. Zaka potentially also working as a bait here. He vaulted the window very loudly to make sure that Obi notices and makes a return, but this is unfortunately not happening. Eternal up on the feet though, 3 survivors. No one is going to be slugged or going on to the hook in the next few seconds. This is very important. No hatchet anymore available, so Dan and Spitz a little bit more safe now. Spitz immediately going back towards the generator because now counts every single second, and Obi notices that as well, is making sure that the generator up here in the midsection is not going to be completed for free. Back to undetectable status effect though, so now the Eternal survivors need to be very careful. They cannot have another jump scare or something unexpected. This next chase needs to be either pretty long, or alternatively the survivors need to be 100% aware where the Huntress currently is. Now trying to get the pallets done here. Zaka perfectly doing that, keeping it safe, keeping it with distance, instantly back on the generator. Eternal now playing this very difficult game with the killer, where you basically have to be at 2 locations at the same time, which, if you can do some mathematics, 1 killer, 2 locations, doesn't really work. So it is going to be super difficult. Zaka will 100% get the generator done on the top side. At least he should. If he jumped straight back on it, then staying around for a second here, but that will be the end game for Team Eternal. It would be really good if they can, on top of that, take a stage out of the door to make sure that a 4K5 in the upcoming trial is not going to be a tie, but a win for Team Eternal. But even getting this final generator done is a really huge success here.
And I just got word back from the people in the background. Thank you so very much. Apparently, the average result for this is just 11 stages, 1 gen remaining. So most of the time, this is a 4K with 1 generator remaining. This is such a weird set in that we don't have like a huge pool of data to pull from. But right here, you could definitely say the survivors are playing above the average result. We can see Zaka even just taking that 1 stage out of the game is already just ahead of the curve. So them getting all these generators done should be a very proud result from them. Spitz is trying to possibly look around for Hatch. We know on this map that Hatch is completely RNG, and because all of the generators are done, it does count. So that is 2 stages out of the door. The survivors already playing higher than the average result. GG, well played. They should be proud of this, especially because this is such an incredibly weird set to play. They don't have a whole lot of practice beforehand, I would say. It's not something that you've been playing for seasons upon seasons. So we'll have to see what Eternal's killer has in store for us. I think there were a couple mistakes by the killer in this game that could have ended up with a better result, a possible 4K with 1 generator remaining. So well played to the survivors. They should be proud. And now we are going into Eternal playing killer for us, and the stakes are incredibly high, because if Eternal loses this one set, that will be the whole match today lost at a clean sweep with a 3-0. That would be such an upset, such an interesting thing to see.
Absolutely. Winner bracket final, no, not final, sorry. A winner bracket match should never be a clean decision, in my opinion. You always root for some ups and downs, some comebacks, some set wins, something unexpected. We 100% had a lot of surprises today already. One in the Wesker set in the end game. We had one in the Spirit trial where Ray missed the flashlight. I don't know how that's possible as a professional caster, but okay. I would have noticed it, but it wasn't my turn.
Okay. You're just busy not casting, not looking at the screen. What were you even doing?
Good point. Now we are in set number 3, and I would hope that Eternal is going to take it, because I feel like, as clean as it looks on paper, of course it's a 2-0 for Calamity right now. Of course Eternal very just barely got stages out of the door. One of them, you could say, even with the RNG hatch needed. But when we are looking into the individual trials, these results were so close together. We are talking about a stage here and there. We are talking about 1 or 2 deciding moments here and there. And it's not really this huge skill difference that we are seeing here. Unfortunately, Eternal is a little bit unlucky even. Sometimes it's happening in comp DBD. Sometimes you're very unlucky. Sometimes you're getting a little bit of higher chances, for example, with the hatch now that we've seen in the end game. So maybe this is also coming back a little bit. And Zaka, as a very experienced killer, certainly has the ability to go for a 4K here. So they should bring it back a little bit.
Like I said, the average result was a 4K with 1 generator remaining. So if you go off basis that data alone and the fact that Eternal is one of the top performing teams, I would say that it's definitely looking like the odds are in their favor. They need to take this set point. They need to take it, or else they're just completely out of the game. So the stakes are very high. We need to see some insane plays from the survivors. Their chases need to be quick, and the first down needs to not happen incredibly early. We have seen a lot of Huntress players go for leaning into the jump scare strat, where they use aura reading perks, things like Darkness Revealed are allowed. There's only a couple perks that are banned. I think Nowhere to Hide is one of the perks. It's like only 7 perks in this season are banned, and that is one of them. So they can't bring that. We might see the killer bring some Darkness Revealed, maybe try to go for more of a finding people sort of build. Obi brought, it was Ruin, Undying, Thrill of the Hunt, and Scourge Hook Pain Resonance. It was 4 slowdowns. It did give him some crazy good value. He did get a lot of Scourge Hook Pain Resonance procs. The survivors did cleanse all 3 totems, which is crazy. Cleansed all of them. It is also one of the perk bans is Pentimento. So if you guys are questioning where that is in Killer's builds, that is also not allowed. So the killer can bring 4 slowdowns, or they can bring some finding survivors perks. We'll have to see what the killer will be cooking up. This is a high stakes game. They need to be on point. And if the survivors are good in any sort of way, they can just completely take this from Eternal. That would be so crazy to see. But we are loading in, everybody. We're going to take a moment. We're going to look over the killer's build, and I want to analyze it. If they get this down, the first down, really fast, that is exactly what the killer needs. And if the survivors are able to prevent the first down from happening that quickly, that'll definitely be just really good for them. Oh, look at that. We do have Darkness Revealed, and we know exactly where the starting survivors are, all in that tiny room. If they don't leave early, oh, and also right on his totem, he's got Ruin, Undying. Uh-oh. Run away! No! Hide. What? Did you? Okay, well, that's exactly what you don't want to happen. That is the first down that is happening so early in the game. It is just playing right into the hands of the killer. This is definitely looking like Eternal might be able to bring back this set. I know it's too early to call, but it's looking good.
It's feeling really good when you're loading in and you know you have to basically 4K, we could say. If we are having a 4K on all gens done, then it's probably the orientation point here, because everything about the stages, yeah, one stage could out of the door, but who guarantees that it will be only one stage? So it is going to be Zaka 100% aiming for the clean 4K here. And when you are coming in like this, knowing you have to win 3 sets back to back, then you really feel great. I feel like Hein was very optimistic there, just loading into the trial, going on a totem and being like, oh yeah, an undetectable killer cannot get me here while I'm cleansing this. So maybe a little bit too optimistic, and this is now going to be punished a little bit. Trying to be undetectable as often as possible. We have seen this before. Killers just throwing away the hatchet so they can go for the locker. Calamity though, not really showing the interest in unhooking Hein, at least not forcing it too much. They would be fine, it seems like, if Hein is going into the second stage, but then perfect moment to strike. I believe that was a balanced landing on top that came in there on the near, dropping down Marco and then making sure that he's getting it was the balanced landing, dropping down on the staircase and then moving into the hooked survivor, and then unfortunately being unaware where the Huntress really is. That's going to be hook stage number 2, but the first generator is going to be completed now as well. So Calamity, as difficult as the early game was, definitely not showing us a bad performance so far. Marco now would have 2 minutes and 20 seconds if Calamity really wants to go for this strategy where you're leaving someone on the hook and not going to trade too often. Zaka going into the reload again, having the undetectable ready to go, and we see with the aura reading here, very tough for these survivors. Mind gaming around the window here, Zaka blocking the window, trying to make sure that the survivor is not getting it for free, and then in the perfect moment, knowing exactly with the wind up time and the jump from the survivor that this is enough. Very much showing his experience, not getting nervous, Mathis, absolute nerves of steel, seeing the situation, calculating the values, and knowing very surely I can hit that. So third hook stage already, one generator in exchange, 1.5 we could say. Very good attempt from Zaka so far.
And especially because that is the third stack of Grim Embrace that is activated. Just one more away. If Zaka is able to find Rocket and place him up on the hook, that'll be all generators blocked for a good amount of time. Unfortunately, Rocket is the obsession, meaning that if he's placed up on hook, yeah, it's going to activate Grim. But what Grim does is it also highlights the obsession. So yeah, you're basically going to highlight him on hook. Yeah, look at me. I know exactly where you are. Yeah, you're on the hook. But that's still really good for blocking all of the generators, because that is just time spent for the survivors having to do absolutely nothing. They can heal and they can reset, but all that's going to do is reduce their grunts of pain, because the Huntress is dangerous with her one iridescent head hatchet. It seems like the survivors are being a little bit more on point with their reading of where the killer is, except not really, because Oscar's over here. Oh my god, do you have Dead Hard? Oh my god, that was they were just waiting for it for so very long. You know, comp players are what you would say is like one of the toppest tier players, right? And I have seen some players, even in just public normal games, hold out their Dead Hard for seemingly an eternity, and they still get it off. They're insane with their patience. They're just basically reading your mind. So I understand Zaka just holding up and waiting to see if he had Dead Hard after all of that time. Oscar is placed up on the hook at his second stage. Everybody is injured. There's 3 generators left. Look at this. Is Rocket gonna be the next one up on a hook? It definitely seems so, even though he was able to get to that point where the Huntress missed her hatchet. That is still going to be an M1, and that is going to be Grim Embrace activating, blocking all of the generators. So this is an incredibly dangerous time for the survivors, especially because Oscar could be tunneled out of the game if Zaka does find him, especially because if he can activate Darkness Revealed, that would be really, really bad for the survivors. Although it isn't the one survivor who could be dead, it does seem like they have no idea. This set is going to send these people to an early grave, man. Look at that. They're getting jump scared left and right. It seems like the killer is definitely on the leg up in this scenario. Rocket on hook, Hind on hook. 2 survivors over here. They did heal, yeah, but guess what? If the Huntress hits you with a hatchet, it is just over. And look at this. Such a prime position for camping. Oh, it's not looking good for the survivors. I don't know if they're going to be able to make it out of this.
Yeah, it's really looking tough. Calamity is in a situation where you don't want to be in, and we're not only talking about 2 Unoks being needed and then take them out of the door. We have 3 generators to go after solving this critical situation. Zaka just holding the hatchet here in between these hooks. He also found the perfect location, making sure that these survivors are not getting anything for free. And look at the patience once more. You were just describing it in correlation to the DH. Here he's just holding it. That's going to be Oscar on the floor. Hein going to be on the floor just as well. So there is not going to be much that Calamity can do here. Hein is saying goodbye. Oscar is going to be thrown onto the hook here. And I think these survivors of Calamity slowly but steady have to accept and prepare for Eternal starting the comeback. It would be the 2-1, so obviously you're still having the advantage on the side of Calamity if this is all working out for you. But once Eternal is back in the dynamic, once Eternal is realizing, okay, we got back the chemistry, we got back the efficiency, Calamity is under control, we also need to consider that the Jumpscare Huntress was the Calamity set. So the tier 3 Myers that we have ahead of us is Eternal set, so they are starting the comeback. They will play their set first, and Zaka, I believe, will take the responsibility on the tier 3 Myers. So after having such a great Huntress game, he will 100% and very happily go into the set with the tier 3 Myers. Dropping the pallet early, is it going to help, is the question. The answer is yes. A little bit of delay here with the down. Maybe Rocket can get 3 generators done in the meanwhile, but we are just going to see. Is that plot twist?
No, he was in Mend. He wasn't meant from his dead hard, so he just stopped. He stopped mending and he just let himself
But
go
why
on the
would you
ground.
not mend?
I mean,
Did he
I think they know-
miscalculate?
I
Maybe?
think they just know the game is over. That's exactly why the other
Maybe, yeah.
survivors started to heal the person on the ground, because it like gets rid of your endurance and
yeah.
also just guarantees you don't have decisive strike. I think they just kind of accepted when those 2 survivors were placed on a hook in vision of the Huntress with an iridescent head hatchet. They were just like, yeah, I guess we're just gonna concede this match. GG's well played. They had like 3 generators they had to do. There was no way they were getting in order for the survivors to win, they had to get, I think, 3 stages out the door. Ah, yes. Scoping the scene. Oh, no. The one survivor's gonna get out. Oh, no. There is a rule that we have where, like, you can't just sit on the hatch for a very, very long time. So even though Zaka is scoping the scene, he still has to close hatch at some point. Or he's just gonna choose to not do that. I wonder if he thinks that the survivor is just sitting at the exit gate. Oh, my God. This is the wrong one, though. No, this is the wrong one. Yeah, Marco is just over here. Oh, come on, guys, come on. The game is over. Zaka wants to kill everybody. He's not having it. He's saying, exactly, no, you are not having anything. That's actually really funny. He's just trying to go for the 4K. We do think that morals do... Oh, my God. Brother, how do you miss that shit? Oh my God. Oh, that's so funny. Oh yeah, look at that. Our first Mori. We never get to see these. I feel like the killers, they hate it. They hate the endgame Mori. There we go. And nonetheless, it's a cute little Huntress one. Thank you so much. GG's to both teams. They played it so very well, except Eternal just played it a little bit better. That will be their first set point of today. They need to win every single set point from here on out if they want to take it from Calamity. Calamity is just 1 set point away from taking the match from the top tier, the top performing Eternal. We'll have to see what they do in the next set. It will be the same side, staying on Survivor and Killer. We are going into another Halloween set, the tier 3 Myers. That's what map is that played on?
The tier 3 Myers is going to be played on Hawkins.
Hawkins, that's right.
So yeah, so on the one hand, we have these long hallways with the good chance to get some stock progress in, but we also have a lot of doors, a lot of corners where you can sneak around. We have also seen the attempt from some teams to even keep 2 survivors hidden. So yeah, let's see if Eternal is able to turn their set that they picked for Halloween into the 2-2 tie condition, basically. And then we are going all the way through into the Nemesis set. We will go on a very short break because for us casters, it's time to drink a little bit. And you, ladies and gentlemen, should do the same. Make sure you're staying hydrated at home. We are having the players load into the lobby and we will be back in just a moment. So stay tuned, everyone.
Welcome back, everybody. We have Eternal versus Calamity. Eternal playing on Killer, the tier 3 Myers Halloween set. And here we already have us fresh, hot on the trail of Hein, who will be giving this Myers some much needed stock because he has the tier 3 add-on, meaning that once he gets into his tier 3, he is there forever. Already into tier 2, out of tier 1, which is incredibly good because the Killer in tier 1 is very slow. Even then, giving a fresh early tag onto Hein, Zaka is sitting in a really good position here. If he can get this down, that will jumpstart all of the hooks, especially in an incredibly dangerous set just as this. I would say this set is as dangerous, if not more, than the previous set with Huntress, who has an iridescent head. This is going to be a really good start for the Killer. The survivors can hover around for the pallet save, yes, but it might be that Zaka doesn't even care about it. Goes for another tag right onto Marco. He is the obsession, and Zaka did bring in play with your food. Gives a speed boost every time he gets out of chase with the obsession. So that will be a little bit of an extra speed boost for Zaka. Still hiding here underneath this pallet. Will there be a save? It does not seem so. So there we go. Our first hook starting the game. This is not looking good for the survivors. That's an incredibly early down.
Yeah, very early down so far. When we are talking about the tier 3 Myers, we usually always needed the power to get the first down and get the pressure rolling. Also with these pallet save attempt, we had Ace pulled back from a generator, and here we see the special rule for the All Hallows League for this Michael set. The killers have to bring either Trail of Torment or Unforeseen. So far there's a huge disagreement by the teams because we are seeing both perks very often. Here Zaka decided for the Trail of Torment, so whenever we are kicking a generator, we are undetectable as long as these survivors do not prevent this generator from regressing further. So turning a little bit into an undetectable killing machine here. Zaka trying to get a little bit of stalk left and right, but always coming back towards the hook, trying to use this undetectable status for his advantage. Maybe he can make sure or even jump scare one of the potential rescuers. First generator should be completed very soon. Zaka is not able to really get the pressure in to keep that generator under control, but Hein is going into the second stage. So Zaka now even with the chance to go for the full elimination soon, and Marco completely unaware. Zaka went all the way around and he actually stopped this generator in time. Very, very impressive. Ray, Calamity is falling apart even.
Oh man, this is just going so according to plan for Eternal. There, getting 1% out of the game this early would be huge, especially because Zaka is very, very close to popping tier 3. Oh, goes a swing and a miss. That's gonna be really upsetting. Yeah, see right here, we're just getting the full stock. Are we be able to get pop the tier 3? It does seem so. And gets a bonus stack of play with your food. Even though Zaka is in permanent tier 3, the survivors are one shot down for the rest of the game. Will we see Zaka just in... Oh, are you abandoning the tunnel out? Or do you know where he is? This is not the tunnel out. This is the obsession. So you can get play with your food stacks, but Hein is gone. That could have been such a good turning point to be able to get that down right there. Zaka does get Marco down, but that's not the tunnel out survivor. So that will be one fresh hook right up on the hook. The survivors are now in danger for the rest of the game, meaning that they are one shot down. So if they got caught out in any sort of way, that will be them downed. And Hawkins has playable pallets, right? There's a shit ton of them, but man, they are not guaranteed to be safe, especially with Myers, who has a tier 3 lunch. It's a little bit longer than the normal killer 115% lunch. And also he can have play with your food stacks, which does affect your lunch by a tiny bit. So it's really hard to loop against killers such as these. Has Trail of Torment is undetectable, but going up to this generator, it does take a long time. So you definitely have to use that, you definitely are going to be looping around it for at least a little bit. But Hein, Hein is the tunnel out, isn't he? Yeah, so if he dies, that will be the survivors into the 3v1, but gets a miraculous stun right there. GG well played to the survivor. They need to last a little bit longer, but it seems like, yeah, that's gonna be the end. Goodbye, Hein. Thank you so much for playing.
Yeah, got to get help, says Lara there after being downed, and I think this is describing the situation of Calamity really well. See, it doesn't even need casters, it only needs Lara Croft as a character here, because we need some help for Calamity. Playing with only 3 survivors on 3 generators remaining, 2 generators remaining, is extremely tough. Zaka will have the tier 3 until the end of the trial. He has shown that he can make very good work with the undetectable status effect, even making some additional extra routes here and there, extending the time a little bit, and the survivors then thinking, yeah, the killer is not going to move over here, and then striking from the back as we saw earlier on Marco. Getting rid of some pallets here in the midsection as well, making sure that Hawkins is being turned into a lot weaker map than it was before, and now chasing these survivors constantly off these generators, applying eruption a little bit. It is going to be tricky to defend the generator all the way here on the bottom in the portal room, because you also have to go all the way upstairs there to really put the pressure on that survivor. So Zaka might want to accept that he has to say goodbye for this one, but the three on the top side here are a lot easier to defend. We very likely will see Zaka staying in the midsection for a little bit, making sure that the regression can really kick in, and he also has this very difficult palette here to play around that usually forces the killer into breaking them. Ace just holding W away, trying to waste as much time as possible, but he took the vault after that, so luckily the balanced landing is doing the necessary work here, otherwise this would have been the down. Zaka in the position of advantage, yet when we are looking on how the mid game looked with a lot of downs and injuries altogether, I also think that Calamity managed to do quite an impressive comeback. Marco trying to stay in a little bit of safety while making sure that Zaka is rotating away before striking back onto the generator here. Oscar and Rocket doing the same, and while we are playing this waiting game, the killer role is the one that is going to take the benefit and the advantage here, because the gens are regressing. So as longer these survivors wait until they are striking again, the more advantage for Zaka and Team Eternal here.
Yep, and it seems that this game is going to be played incredibly slow, because this is now a 3-gen against a tier 3 Myers who can be stealthy as well. Trail of Torment making it so they don't know exactly where the killer is. He still has a good presence here, because we know exactly what the survivors want. They want this one generator right here. It has a lot of progress. It's been kicked a lot as well. They know this, and the limit for kicking and damaging a generator is 8 events. So because he has Eruption, because he's been kicking it with Trail of Torment, it is gonna get close to the point where the killer can't kick that generator anymore. So even though it is a 3-gen, if the survivors can stop that progression or regression, then they're kind of in a really good spot, because they can just keep that generator at high progress no matter what. They could dwindle away at it. So yeah, it seems like this part of the game is going to be slowing down quite a bit. And right here, Rocket is the one with a balanced landing, so he can get away. You can see that Marco was trying to get this generator to stop regressing at the least. So if Zaka wanted to get it to in a regressive state, he has to kick it again and apply another regression event. It seems like it's gonna be very, very difficult. The survivors do want to bang out this one generator, because a 4K with 0 gens remaining is way better than a 4K with 1 generator remaining. And even then, they do have a lot of health stages between all of them. Although Zaka can get into a position where he can get more than just downs right here. There we go, Eruption procking, damaging that generator again. Will be taking Ace and putting up on a hook. He can do a little bit of cat and mouse mind gaming with Marco, who is the obsession. So Zaka can farm, play with your food stacks with him. Ooh, this is a little greedy, isn't it? He's gonna get this hook though. He'll get the hook, but it's in the middle of his 3-gen with the tier 3 Myers. Marco is right here. This could be the turning point. If Marco goes down without putting up too much of a fight, that'll be Oscar in the game who has to go for the save. Oh man, he tries to make a read right there, but it's not good enough. We'll just be taking that down. Marco does have Unbreakable, so it's not completely the end of the game, but is definitely looking like we're making our way that way.
Oscar and Rocket, they have the responsibility to get something done, and even if it would only be the final generator, I feel like that would be such an important step, because Eternal, while they're trying to make the comeback here, of course they would love to be in a survivor trial very soon where they all just have to get all the generators done, and this going to be enough. So Marco going to stay on the floor here. Rocket and Oscar need a generator out of the way. Zaka trying to get them as quick as possible, trying to prevent that Marco is being picked up. This is the difficulty for the killer now, that Marco is all the way down there on the bottom side. So not really in the 3-gen that you're trying to defend at the same time. Needs to split the attention between the gens and the slug if he wants to make sure that no one is picking up here. And it seems like he's currently not on the tail of Oscar or Rocket, so we are getting a little bit of progress into these generators. Trail of Torment is on cooldown, so no undetectable status effect. And now we're going into the next chase here with Oscar, so that should be enough time for Rocket to pick up Marco, but this is giving at the same time the advantage to Zaka that there is going to be no one working on the gens here. So is Rocket potentially leaving Marco on the floor to get a little bit of percentage into the final gen? The answer is no. Marco is now being picked up in the distance. So Zaka has a little bit of an idea that they are on the bottom side of Hawkins, and I was about to say this should be then also indicate that you can just go for the hook on this survivor, because the others would need to rotate back towards the top side and no one is working on these gens just yet. Zaka having the same idea. Rocket going onto the staircase from the other side, securing that Oscar is going to be back in the trial as quick as possible, and it makes a lot of sense, right? You want to have 3 survivors in this trial to get the final generator out of the way at all costs. Oscar still being on the hook though, because Zaka was kind of expecting that there might be someone sneaking from the back, interrupting the generator. Over here it's still going into regression because 5% were not being put into the gen yet. That's the case only now. And such a back and forth here. And this back and forth, Ray, as long as it takes and as coordinated it looks, it goes to the disadvantage of Calamity, because this is not what we can consider a serious impact onto one of these generators. Zaka is in a dominant situation right now, and we would need to have something much more serious than trying to grow for the final straw here.
Yeah, and that is seeming like that will be the end. They had so much progress on that generator. Even just a little bit longer of chase would have been a miracle for getting that done, but it seems like Marco is the last man standing. The Unbreakable has been used. It is definitely not going to be getting too much value anymore, and that is the last survivor onto the ground. There's no chance for escape, no deliverance. It has been used or didn't get used, but is out of the game, and that will be at the end of this match. That was incredibly tight region to try to break. So well played to the survivors. Unfortunately, it ended with a 4K1, but I wouldn't be too upset about this result. These are very unique sets, and it can result in a lot of death or a win with gens remaining. Like, that's not a total surprise. We saw with the Huntress set as well, Zaka was able to get a 4K3, so the survivors that was a good match. I mean, it ended with a little bit of a standstill about a scenario where it could have been almost impossible to win, so they got the best result that they can. But now they're going to take the time, they're going to switch sides, and we're now going to see what Calamity's killer is going to be able to do with this rule set. Do you think they're going to stick with the Trail of Torment, or are we going to see the unknown perk instead? I like to know why these killers pick between those 2 perks. I wish that was a requirement, that they could just type up us a little essay, a little paragraph explaining why they're bringing this perk over the other one, because I just am so interested to know the logic behind it.
Yeah, in fact, we have, as I mentioned before, a lot of disagreement. There is no clear statistic that indicates, I believe, that Unforeseen is so much stronger than Trail of Torment. We had a lot of sets in AHL so far where one killer brought the one perk and the opponent team brought the other. So it might just be a very few trials of difference there. My idea about the Trail of Torment, why I would say it's a little bit stronger potentially even, is even if the survivors have the counterplay, right? They can walk over to a generator and they can just basically counter it. You are still forcing a survivor to do it, which ultimately goes into a little bit of time loss. And especially when we talk about the regen defense, as we have seen in the trial that we just played, where Zaka had a very, very good regen for himself that he managed to establish with getting good hook stages in good locations. If you are then using one of the gens that is a little bit further away while you are having the time as the killer because you successfully managed to keep the survivors busy with some healing, some slugging, some unhooks. If you are now rotating away a little bit and you're putting your power or your undetectable status onto this generator, you're making sure that you're basically adding one little objective to the survivor team, and they need to discuss, just like the Cenobite, where they are discussing who's taking the box, who's moving over there solving the box. You're basically having one survivor who needs to move over towards this generator, causing a little bit of time loss and making sure that the undetectable is not coming through. That would be my reason why I would go with Trail of Torment. But yeah, it would be really interesting. Maybe we should actually make that a requirement with the little essay. And then we should also make sure that those teams that are getting or writing the most beautiful essay, the longest explanation, maybe one or two metaphors here and there while they're typing it, they're getting a joker for a hook stage or something in exchange to make sure that we are really receiving good explanations of that. But it does stay very exciting. Maybe Obi is bringing unforeseen. The win condition is what worries me a little bit when we are talking about Calamity here, because telling Eternal, you guys just have to do all the gens, is usually pretty hardly backfiring.
Even then, like a tie would still be better than that. So if it looks like it's going to be a really bad position, Eternal might just try to lean into that, because if they lose another set, then they're out. So even a tie would be a good condition. And I would say that's right about around what you'd expect from this set we've seen in previous games. I don't know what the average result has been, but I would say that this is far from the average game. So I can't even just give you like a prediction. It's very, very difficult because of how many different factors go into this, something that we don't normally see in comp games. So it's really hard to practice for. I'm really interested to see which perk the killer decides to bring, either Trail of Torment or what's it? An unforeseen? I don't remember. They're all unperks. So I get them mixed up a lot. But we'll have to see what the killer can do. We know that Eternal in the past has had a favorite with picking killers that are on indoor maps. So we know that they have the practice and the coordination for trying to survive in these very high stakes maps. They require a lot of communication, and we have seen them do that in the past. So they might have a slight advantage over the other side. They are not out for the count. I want to see that Nemesis set, so they have to take this one. If they take this set, then we get to see the Nemesis. And it's been so long since I've seen him in a comp game before. Actually, I've only ever seen a Nemesis game one time, and he didn't do so well because it was on Bud Lodge. It was a really big map. So I want to see it. I want to see it happen. We actually know the map too, and we can tell you guys because it's a tiebreaker set. He's on Ironworks 2, which is one of the newer maps, the newer to comp maps, I should say. It's been in the game for a little bit longer. But I want to see them take it. We're loading in now. We're going to see the builds. We've seen a lot of variety in what the Myers will bring. We've seen them bring slowdowns. We've seen them bring, like, play with your food. We have seen them bring detection perks as well, because we're forcing the undetectable perk. So sometimes they can bring, like, Darkness Reveal to find people. There's a lot of lockers on this map, so they could greatly benefit from that. I'm interested to know. We're probably going to have the same person stay on killer that's been playing the whole time. Will we be seeing Obi? Yeah, we definitely see Obi. Oh, this is the same perk set that they brought the last game. This is what Zaka brought. So it's just the same thing. We'll have to see if Obi can outperform. There was an incredibly early down in the previous game. So if Obi doesn't match that, it might be looking good for Eternal. They have to win. Stakes are very high, and they haven't been found just yet. So it's looking good, I guess.
Yeah, what I love a lot is that we get the exact same perks here. So we have the perfect comparison between the two trials, basically hosting a little bit of a showcase at the same time here between these tier 3 Mayas. Let's see how the early game is going. We remember, ladies and gentlemen, in the previous trial, we had an injury and even a down before tier 3 was popping off. So Eternal is keeping it slower here. They are more aware that the Mathis is trying to strike, and Obi just getting now the second tier, but he's going to be in the chase with Spitz here. So let's see if Spitz is also going to take the down before the tier 3 or how this is going to be played out. Not the safest pallet down here, except you're dropping it straight to make a little bit of distance, which is what Spitz is perfectly doing here. Maya seems to leave the area, trying to prioritize the generators now. Kexo is aware of that, leaving the area early, trying to not have a strike onto him, and Zaka is going into the portal room. That might be a little bit difficult though, because the survivor can be kind of trapped here and can be stalked through the glass as we perfectly see right here. So we are on 2.5 tiers already. That's going to be the injury now, but I think one thing is safe to say so far when we are comparing this to the previous trial, there is definitely going to be more control on the side of Eternal. No down just yet, and even tier 3 is waiting a little bit longer as well. Trail of Torment, so Eternal and Calamity seem to agree. Is this going to be possible to have any sort of jump scare? Now it's important for the survivors of Eternal to have flawless communication, making sure that they are aware at all times where the Michael is located, but it doesn't seem to be the issue so far. Spitz going to be in the next chase, and we have 3 individual generators that have already a good amount of progress. So far, it really looks like Eternal is not going to drop the chance of making something for themselves here.
Yeah, they're doing a really good job of just preventing. Oh, there goes the first generator. You know what? That's the indicator. That's the beginning of the end. That's for me. I swear the survivors are going to take this set and we're going to go to Nemesis. I am manifesting. They are definitely doing a good job of letting me live my dream. Kexo does take it, and 1 hit right there. That is 2 people injured. I doubt we're gonna see people heal too much because this is the tier 3 Meyer set. Instead, they're just gonna try to get all those generators done. They just have to get all of them. Like, it doesn't matter what happens afterwards. They are definitely going to be trying to commit on these. They are splitting pressure. 4 survivors in the game are more efficient on 4 different. It's not as if 2 survivors working on 1 generator doubles the speed. So they are taking advantage of that. Doing a really good job of just baiting away Obi away from the generators. This is the kind of coordination that you would love to see from a high tier team. A pallet does get broken right there. This is Dan, the play with your food obsession giver. Although it seems like Obi is having a hard time committing to a chase to anybody. Except, never mind, I lied. Now he's in tier 3. This pallet's gone. Oh no, Dan, no! He's gone. He's dead. But it seems to be 2 generators too late. That is the first down, already in a much better spot than all these other, than the other team was, sorry. We do see the aura of another survivor over there. I have no idea how, but we do see it. A little bit of a mind game, but will Kexo be biting the dust here? It does seem so. Does have Lithe, tries to bait a swing right there, but it's not gonna be enough. You know what? If Obi can actually just 4-man slug everybody, then, you know, that is definitely them out of the game. When you slug survivors, you do circumvent those unhook perks, those heal perks, deliverance, decisive strike. So, I mean, if Obi 4-man slugs, oh, problems team. This generator is really close to this chase as well. So if Obi has a good pair of headphones, that is definitely going to be detrimental, except I forgot Unbreakable exists. I think Kexo got up with Unbreakable, didn't he? Oh yeah, he definitely did. Okay, so they're not out, but that's Unbreakable out as well. Yep, okay, so now they're gone. They're out. That's the first hook happening with 2 generators remaining. I mean, it's not over till it's over, but it's not looking good.
it's potentially half over before it's over. That's what we can definitely say here. Eternal making it a little bit exciting with their comeback. I know that a lot of people would root for the comeback from Eternal and then even the 3-2 win. And I also think this might be a story that Eternal can write for themselves here. Though they are making it a lot more exciting and us a lot more nervous than it would be necessary. Kexo is going down right here as well, but it seems like Eternal is back up on their feet. They have 4 survivors in the game and able to work on these generators. Spitz is dropping this pallet early to make sure that it needs to be broken and going for a little bit of a distance, but Obi, he realizes that he needs some serious pressure in order to bring Calamity back, so he's just going on a select party. Kexo is being picked up in the distance, and it's now the responsibility of Spitz to take the killer on a longer run here. Our portal room is going to be completed. That's very unfortunate for our killer, as Zaka was working on this one for a long time, and Obi then eventually realizing that as well, but unfortunately he came a little bit too late. Generator in the corner here on the bottom side already touching the 40% mark as well, and these 3 gens are also very, very scattered across the Hawkins National Laboratory here. Totally different condition for Eternal Survival when we are comparing this to the previous trial. Calamity had a very, very rough region to break. Eternal is doing a lot better when we are talking about the setup for that. Spitz now, is he able to go for the ultimate loop? Very late, that hard. Nice attempt there, but it's going to be the down now. Then Zaka and Kexo responsible, and that is, ladies and gentlemen, we are going into the Nemesis tiebreaker in this best of 5. What a game between Calamity and Eternal. It looked so good for Calamity for a long time, and so unfortunate for Team Eternal, losing 2 sets back to back with just the stage. And now Eternal coming out on top once more. 2 set points distribution so far. So Ray, are you ready for some Nemesis?
I am definitely ready. I am ready to see what they are going to do. Nemesis is on this rule set with very little restrictive balancing. He's gonna get staged, right? He's just gonna get like 3 stages max. That's gonna be an incredibly good result to look for. Very well played by Eternal. An incredible comeback. They just needed that warm-up. You know what? They just didn't warm up before. They were just warming up in the game. They said, nah, it's not a big deal. We're definitely gonna win this today. So GG, well played. We can even see Zaka and Spitz are just leaving their teammates to perish. They don't care that much. The game is over. Placing all this placing this other survivor up on hook. Does he think Dan has deliverance? Does he know Dan has deliverance? I have no idea. Oh, he doesn't have deliverance. Never mind. Well, you can't really Kobe. There is a hidden rule that you are allowed to Kobe whenever the game is done. And if you do get that 4% off hook, you just have to sit underneath it. But the teams don't want to risk a penalty, so they're just going to sit right up there. Well played to Eternal. That is something you want to see from a high-tier team. Incredible coordination. They were not giving any stages to Obi. Now they are going to moving on to a very low tier killer. I'm sorry to say, Nemesis enjoyers. We know that he will be played on Ironworks 2. That is not an incredibly bad map, but it's not an incredibly good map. So we're gonna have to see some amazing whips from the team. I wouldn't be surprised if they just haven't practiced this at all, considering that Nemesis he's so far down in the sets that I feel like teams normally try to prioritize practicing the very first set. So if they get a blowout, then they're prepared for it. It's gonna be really interesting. I mean, it's the same balancing that we've been using for all the other high tier killers. So I don't know if we're gonna see, like, I don't know. There's definitely not going to be a 4K. If somebody 4Ks, then they could just crown themselves as the best Nemesis player in the world. Because you should not be 4King on a rule set like this. I am excited to see. Dyer, is there anything else that you would like to add?
I can just add my excitement for this because this is the most beautiful story for this best of 5 in a semi-final in the winter bracket. Not yet, even though it's snowing outside very soon. In the winner bracket, Obi, I totally understand why he's hitting the box there and why he's feeling really bad, because he's taking a lot of responsibility today. Calamity is performing really well, and when you're then so close to the win and basically ready to take over, and everything is looking like we can take this, then you're losing your set, your jump scare Huntress into Eternal set, and you're realizing, okay, we had the momentum, but now we are talking about a completely different best of 5 at this point. The momentum is now on the side of Eternal. They just smashed Calamity's jump scare Huntress. They took their set as expected, and they are on the comeback streak. So in the advantage position is 100% on the side of Eternal now. So let's see what Calamity can do. They are going to kick it off here with the tiebreaker. We just sent a reminder message to the teams that we are playing on Ironworks 2 and not on Ironworks 1, because even though usually we are saying that the teams are very responsible for their perks and their builds, and we are not really helping them. We feel like this is a nice reminder to prevent at least an unnecessary penalty from setting Ironworks 1 out of habit here. Yeah, Nemesis is a very interesting character, right? He was avoided in the comp setting for a long time. A lot of people said the zombies have some sort of RNG factor, and of course it can trigger some different gameplay scenarios when one zombie is stuck in the, I don't know, in the corner right there, and the other one is constantly chasing the survivors off the gens. But Nemesis was the agreement by these two teams, so they feel confident and good that they are going to make it through. We are getting alerted from the background that there is something we need to take care of real quick. It is just administrative, so don't worry, no team has committed a crime here. But this is also the chance to remind everyone that you should stay hydrated, and we are going to be back in just a second after this break.
Welcome back, everybody, to the last match set in Eternal versus Calamity, and already Obi is spotting the entire team who has spawned just incredibly close to him. That was really weird. But we are playing Nemesis on Ironworks 2, so it's gonna be a new matchup, new rule set. It's gonna be really weird. Obi going for a very ambitious tentacle right there, does not get it, and we can already see the zombie already showing up. An infection already super early. Nemesis has been buffed since the last time I have seen him in a comp match, so it's going to be a little bit different, maybe leaning into Nemesis a little bit, but we'll have to see. Oh yeah, there we go. Some good tentacle hits. I play Nemesis sometimes, but I'm not very good at using the tentacle hit, so these killers are definitely gonna have to play a little bit better than me when they do this sort of stuff. We already have Blood Favor coming into effect, blocking this pallet for a little bit. Kexo trying to get that pallet down into the face of Obi, but it's not enough. This is a really good early down for the killer, considering that he is a lower tier in a tier list of like strength 4 killers. That is a really good early down. And now one of the hex totems is cleansed. It's undying with Blood Favor. Blood Favor is still up. It is still out there, but the Nemesis is basically running on just that perk alone with a little bit of a sneaky no-ed in the end there. But it's just gonna have to go out there and create some damage. Will we be seeing a tunnel out strategy? Will we be seeing him spread damage across the map? This map is actually kind of one of the bigger ones. The new versions of Macmillan. Oh my gosh, he just misses that tentacle whip. That's okay, he says. We're just gonna go back. Nemesis, you really want to get into tier 3 as soon as possible. So we'll definitely be seeing some infections happening right there. Kexo gets saved, is now back into the trial, trying to just buy a little bit more time for the team. Zaka is infected. We see some more tentacle hits right there. Yes, we are! You get a little bit slowed with the tentacle hit. And there we go. That's another down. Zaka will be put onto the ground. It doesn't give you very much benefit from spreading these hooks, except you do get that fresh hook. You do get that fresh hook benefit if there's just tying with stages, but that'll be Zaka right up. It's not like there's a Scourge hook, so he's just up on the hook. He has delivered, so he can. Kobe, if he so chooses. Kexo is sort of trapped over here at the main building. Does Obi know that? It does seem so. He is trying to look around, see if he can find Kexo just hanging out and about and around there. The zombie harassing Nancy off of that generator. This is exactly why people don't really like to pick Nemesis. Oh, he sacrifices the jungle gym pallet just to kill the zombie. Oh no, Kexo's caught off guard. Ow! That's not looking good, team.
Yeah, this is unfortunate now for Team Eternal here. Kexo going straight back onto the floor here. So getting a little bit of generator pressure in is definitely needed together with the vaccine here, but unfortunate for Kexo that it's already the second time that they are going to be on the hook. So this is clearly the tunnel out target or even the camping target 60 seconds from now on, and the survivor will be out of the trial. Obi doing a good job so far. The only problem that he has is that the 4 generators that are available next to the one that we are standing by are very far away and very scattered out. The Ironworks of Misery 2 here, so camping Kexo might not be the most attractive solution right now, but yet he's at least camping now a little bit of this midsection here, wants to make sure that no one is coming in or rotating for free, and while the killer is unaware, but wants to also have a little bit of an idea to which generator he should go next. 75% in the main building, another generator closer towards the shack has a good amount of progress as well, and it is very good for Obi at the moment that this survivor is just staying on the hook and very likely going to die together with the regression here. So Eternal decides to sacrifice Kexo, hopefully with a very well made calculation there. Zaka immediately ready to take over the generator though, so there you see the coordination from Team Eternal. This is making me very confident that it was a good trade-off that they were doing there with Kexo, using the sprint burst to instantly take over said generator. Dan is going to be in the next chase, has a TNL to work with. That's not going to be the safest tile to work around with against the Nemesis, but at least you can make it work for a little bit, or you're just forcing the tentacle hit while using the window, and then you can use the distance that equals into a time loss, and now making it all the way over towards the shack. Zaka with generator number 4, almost the completion, so Eternal very, very strong here when we are talking about the comeback on the survivor side after losing a team member. And now is the question, what was Spitz up to this entire time? Have they been able to get some serious progress into one of these generators? And the answer is yes, there we go. That's going to be the end game. Very, very well done so far from the survivors, and if they are taking a lot of stages out of the door here, oh, beautiful that Dan is able to pull out some dodges here in the end game. There would be 7 stages if Dan would even die, which right now is very questionable, but even 7 stages would be a nice result.
Yeah, I think in this end game here, we can already just assume that that was going to be the end result right there. Chasing a brand new hook survivor, meaning that he's going to get at least 3 fresh, and it looks like Zaka is actually cleansing Noed. So it's not a guarantee that Dan will even die on the hook. Nemesis is a low tier killer, and the way he gets people is just by punching them, right? Punching and whipping. So it's not like he can do anything crazy here. So even now, I think that Obi is just kind of accepting that he's not going to be able to defend Dan just sitting right up on the hook. They don't have an exit gate open just yet. Oh my God, no! I don't know, you know, that might have been intentional. Who knows? You do want to break the pellet. So getting tagged onto these survivors is good, yeah, but they don't even have a gate open. So they can't immediately get out. So, you know, either Zaka or Dan going down in this situation is the same end result. They did save him off the hook, yes, but I mean, it's kind of the same thing, right? Another person who's not a fresh hook is going up into the second stage. And now Dan is injured as well and in danger. Uh-oh. Uh-oh, team. If Zaka would have died on a hook, that would just give you one more stage. But if Dan dies on hook, that's 2 more stages. So this is turning into a really good endgame for Obi. This is not something you normally see from a Nemesis game. Gonna be throwing Dan right up on the hook as well. Oh, basement too. Basement. That's going to be really hard to save from. Even though it is close to the exit gate, I think these survivors are just going to be taking this... they're going to be taking their stages out the door. It'll be really hard to save from basement with only 2 survivors and Nemesis, a killer who can use a little bit of range with the tentacle. Yeah, they're just healing an exit gate. They're going to take this result. That's a very good result for the killer. Calamity, this could be looking like it might be a win for them. It's going to be really hard to beat that. Yeah.
They're going back into it, grabbing the syringe and now try. I'm not too sure about this, Ray. I feel like when Zaka was hooked, they could have also left. Now we are having +1 stage already. Now we would be talking about 8 stages overall. But I really feel like going in once more is not the option. Yeah, I totally agree with this decision here. It was a great game by Eternal, especially the mid game was very, very wonderfully played. But now trying something extra risky here and sacrificing more stages, especially risking that spits as the fresh hook is going on to the hook, is not something that they can allow here. So they are taking the 8 stages. It is +1 if we're talking about the result that they could have had beforehand from 7 to 8 stages. Yet 7 stages or 8 into 8 stages is something that Zaka can make happen with his experience in the upcoming trial. Basically, we need 3 kills. Then we are talking about 9 stages, and that should be something that is possible. What Zaka definitely needs in the upcoming trial would be a great early game, just like Obi had. We had a pretty quick down. Of course, he had the value there from the blood favor that was helping a little bit, but making sure that this relatively weak killer is getting it down within the first minute, I believe it was, is definitely important when you want to strike into a 3K. And then I feel like the one turning point, I feel like, where Eternal really got the control in this match was when Obi was camping. Am I lagging?
Yeah, you're lagging a little bit. It's okay. You're just cutting out a little bit here and there. Okay, he's just gonna reset it. Are you back? Are you good? You're back. You're back.
I'm back. Nice.
Yeah. Girl, Zaka is using barbecue and chili. You know, maybe he's cooking something up. I feel like Zaka sometimes just puts in the wildest perks. Like, I don't know, you might have needed another slowdown or a chase perk. We did see last game that blood favor did get a whole lot of value. I don't know, this chase hustle has to be incredibly quick as opposed to the last game. The killer was able to get a down very, very early. Look at that, Zaka being incredibly patient with the tentacle attack. You can strafe it a little bit and it does cover a little bit more ground, but it can be really, really difficult. Hein there taking a first hit and is running away from a pallet. Oh my God, girl, it looks like this is gonna be a down. It really does. Oh no! Okay, well, that works out well. Good job. That's exactly what Zaka needs. If he wants to win this, he needed an early down, and that is exactly what he got. On to Hein. The rest of the team should be out there diligently working on generators. This is not a Scourge Hook Pain Resonance. This is a Grim Embrace. There's not a lot of balancing in AHL, but there is one little detail. You are not allowed to bring Grim Embrace and Scourge Hook Pain Resonance. You can bring either or. So it seems that Zaka has decided that Grim Embrace is exactly what he wants to go for. Keep in mind also, you are meant to lock in builds. before the games happened. So this is not something that Zaka cooked up right before this game. He had to block it in earlier without even knowing the result of last game. Look at that, Marco is infected and injured. Pedro is now infected, about to be injured. Look at these whips! Zaka is just on fire, hitting these one after the other. It seems like we're gonna get another fresh hook up onto the hook, and that is exactly what Zaka needs. He needs all these fresh hooks. He needs basically 3 kills, because last game it was 3 fresh 8 stages. Kind of a weird result to kind of meet or beat with just 4 fresh 8 stages, but it seems like Zaka has got a plan, and it is working perfectly.
Absolutely great to see that. I saw a few messages throughout the stream in the chat that said Zaka is angry, so maybe the effect is a little bit the same than on Zeno, because when Zeno is, for example, feeling like that it's not going as intended and he feels like he needs to step up for his team, then it always works really good as well. So maybe Zaka has a little bit of a similar effect here, and we can tell that Zaka is actually very angry getting all these injuries here together. 1 generator has been completed so far, but 2 hook stages are already in favor of Zaka. Usually when we are talking about the weaker killers and Nemesis, or in comp jargon called Balumba, it is usually the generators going a bit faster than the hook stages.
Oh, no.
Good mind game here by Marco with a nice fake that he would drop the pallet and then holding W instead. This time Zaka is going to stay the winner on this mind game, just putting him onto the floor. Rocket is taking the infection as well here, so Zaka also with a lot of awareness here for the surrounding, expecting the survivors based on game sense where they would go for a rescue here. And so far it looks like Eternal is going to continue their very confident dynamic. Zaka is also able to interrupt this generator here in the shack. That's going to be punishing for Team Calamity.
Yeah, they are definitely struggling a little bit there. I can't believe his game sense was just like on point right there. He might be mad, but he is locked and loaded. No. We can see that Hein is over here. Oh my god, she talks and it always interrupts me, and I always get so confused. It sounded like you for a second. Hein will be taking another infection hit right there. Still hot on the trail, chasing around the generator that has a lot of progress. It being interrupted is really good for the killer. It seems that Zaka is definitely doing a fantastic job. There is 3 generators left. Rocket tries to rotate in to try to get that generator completed. Misses a tentacle attack. He's the only one that isn't infected. A lot of syringes have already been used. Oh no! Misses that one right in his face. I can't believe he just vaulted that Z-wall right there. Will now be taking another infection hit. Rocket is now on the docket to be chased, and he is the last Grim Embrace stack, meaning that when he goes up onto the hook, that will be the blocking of all of those generators for quite a bit of time, meaning that Zaka will be free to chase whomever he decides. Another generator gets done. That's the one at Shack that we already know had a lot of progress. This one is so very close as well. The survivors are doing a great job of just dwindling down these generators. They need to get 8 stages out the door to prevent the tie, or whatever it was. They need to prevent 8 stages for the tie. And we got Rocket up on hook. This will be blocking generators with Grim, but it doesn't even matter because the survivors are taking the time to reset. Now Zaka can go out there and be a menace and chase whoever he wants, because everybody is worth the same amount of stages at this point. You are just looking to chase the most efficient way. You want to get somebody who's caught out of position, will be taking tags and giving up their health stages.
Let's hope that Zaka is getting them in time here. Next chase is going to come out with Hein. Was expecting for a second that there is going to be the vault on the window, but Hein just holding W here. We have the no one escapes death in the back pocket in case that's needed for the end game. Reset being taken by Calamity. Definitely a good idea with how strong Zaka is at the moment. You don't want to leave anything to the risk here, and trying to waste as much time as possible by going into the basement. And once again, Lara is telling us perfectly what she's thinking at the moment. Second stage for Heinz. So we are having 4 individual survivors though, Ray. This is important because in the previous trial, we had only 3 individual survivors. So we need 3 more stages, and then we have to win based on the 3rd win condition, making the difference between the individual survivors. And 3 more stages, that's something that sounds realistic here. When you're an Eternal fan, you definitely should press the thumbs right now. Give all the luck to Team Zaka and Team Eternal here. 3 more stages, so Rocket, Pedro, or Marco dying on hook, and then 1 more, and then you already got it.
Yeah, it's definitely looking like this is something that you can be on the edge of your seat for, because he still does have Hex. No one escapes death. That could be a really, really good end game. That is exactly what Zaka needs. Just like last game, Obi was able to squeeze out a couple more stages because of the disorganization from the survivors in the end there. We can already see that Pedro is here playing backup for Rocket, making so he doesn't go down just yet. You can use your tentacle a little bit to get some hits right there. Rocket does try to path away, but it's not enough. Has overcome is a little bit more distance than it would be normally. Trying to make it up here to try to just get a little bit more time. Yes, and Pedro does activate adrenaline. That is him getting a speed boost. It doesn't matter that his health stage was healed, however, because he does have Hex, no one escapes death. This will be Pedro on the ground. And now there is 3 other survivors out there. Will Zaka be taking the hook stage? It does seem so. The survivors do have to take the time to open the exit gate. That could be a really, really good time sync. Look at that. He sees the barbecue and chili. It's already too late. The doors are open. If they were to leave right now, that is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 stages. That's not enough. If Hein makes it out, that is a win for Calamity right there. Oh my God, they took the first 2 match sets and it took them a while, but they will be taking set number 5. GG, well played. Calamity comes out on top today.
Absolute insane game here that we're seeing by Team Calamity. It is 1 stage again. So really, really congratulations for taking it overall. But also thank you so much for this game, I feel like, because this has been one hell of a ride today. It is unbelievable how well these 2 teams played. Calamity is going to come out on top by just a hook stage, we could say. Set 1 was about a chaos in the end game. Set 2 was coming down to 1 unlucky end game and a decision. Now set 5 is coming down to 1 hook stage. I feel like it's fair to say that both teams absolutely deserve the win, but Calamity being a little bit stronger today.
Yep. GG, well played to both sides, but Calamity comes out on top with barely just 1 stage to take this last set. That was a really good extremely matchup today. Like, I didn't expect Calamity to take those first 2 sets away from Eternal, and it did seem like Eternal was locking in for the end, but Obi brings it back with an incredibly well-played Nemesis game there on the edge of my seat this entire time.